If you've ever had streaming or if you've ever had trouble streaming a big event and it just kept buffering, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Happy Monday. We are back for another week, the penultimate week before Thanksgiving. So we got Nvidia earnings coming this week. It's going to be big. You already know it. Let's go ahead and break down the SPY, the market, and get you all ready for today on Benzinga's Market Edge. Okay, got to play the scene though. Okay, well, guess it's not playing the intro. Wonder what that means. Guess we'll just have to do it cold then. F it. Okay, well, I guess StreamYard is having some issues here today. Good morning. It's great to see a whole bunch of you returning here. Happy Monday. Seahorse Trading, Jonathan Fairchild. Hope you all are doing well. We're going to go ahead and start with the SPY. We do have a couple of pretty big news items here to cover. We'll go ahead and do that. Producer was napping. Actually, Jonathan, I produce my own show. Just so you guys are aware, sometimes AT's in the back to help me, but for the most part, I'm doing everything myself. I'm on the switches doing everything myself. But anyway, it was just lagging a little bit. Anyway, Funky Cold Stocks, good morning. Jay Harris, good morning. Jonathan Fairchild and Seahorse Trading, good morning. Let's go ahead and take a look at the SPY and then get you prepared for the market with all of the market moving news. We got some movers here. We're going to have Matt Maley on this morning. 13 will be joining us in about an hour, just under an hour here. So we got a lot to go through. Good morning, Austin. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with the SPY. Now, SPY, where we're at, it's basically holding this 9 EMA, which is going to be this purple line. Okay. Good morning, 3D. It's great to see you this morning. It's holding this 9 EMA. And beneath it, we actually have two levels that were previously important to the SPY. We have the 582.30 level. This was one that we spent about 2 weeks trying to break through. And then once we did, we never really looked back until now. So if we continue to break down here today, we might come in and test this level here. We'll see how we do. And then right beneath that, we actually have the 50-day moving average. And the 50-day moving average, if we break down, should provide support for the SPY. If we back out a little bit, you can see the last time that we were down here, we started on Halloween and we tested this for 4 days. It held and then traded back up. The last time we came down to this 50, it actually took 2 days. We broke it, but within 3 days, we very quickly reclaimed it. And this led to another run. This run actually was from September to October. So about a month and a half worth of an upside run there post reclaiming that 50. You can see when we reclaimed the 50 back in August, we actually had multiple weeks of positive movement. And when we lost it at the beginning of August, it only took about 2 weeks to reclaim that. And that was a pretty significant sell-off. Prior to losing it in August, we actually straddled this 50-day for a while. So I say all that to say that the 50-day is likely going to be extremely important. And we are going to be down there to test that pretty soon. So I would watch for that. Okay. You guys asking about Dennis and Joel. They broke off and did their own thing. So I'm doing this here for Benzinga, which is actually worked out pretty nicely for the sake of this show because we have more time to discuss the things that you folks want to discuss. Plus, now it gives me an opportunity to expand the show with the help of my producers. So we got a lot of really cool things coming. So that's what's going on. But in any case, here's where we're at with the SPY. This morning, we're actually up a little bit, I believe. Let's see, 5.8. Yeah, we're up fractionally. So we were above the closing price for most of the morning. We've been leaking a little bit into this. We're still even there. We'll see if we hold on or we'll see if we go red here today. But you should have the spots now. You should have the spots both upside and downside. As far as upside goes, this is all going to be about 600, right? Maybe we do get a little gap fill up here to 594 or something like that. Let's see, 594, about that would be the bottom of this red candle. Maybe we fill that gap up there, but let's be honest. The real spot that we're looking to break out here is going to be the 600. if we're going to go higher. Now, you could make the case that we're starting to see some tax loss selling. This is when you'd want to do it, especially if you want to rebuy that security before the end of the year. So let me give you a hypothetical example. Let's say you own a stock, you've been down on it this year, you want to sell it, and you want to use that on your taxes as a tax loss. Well, if you still like the long-term story and you want to get back into that, you got to be mindful of the wash sale rule, which if you sell a stock, you can't buy it back for 30 days. Well, if you look at the calendar here, it's 11/18, right? So it's the 18th of November. You sell a stock today and you still want to own that before the end of the year, you're going to have to wait till December 18th, December 19th to rebuy that. So we're running out of time here. So on some of these stocks, especially stocks that have been pounded today, or excuse me, pounded this year, you're likely running into some tax loss selling, and that should abate or at least lighten up a little bit over the next 2 months or the next 2 weeks, excuse me. So keep an eye on that. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's great to see all of you. AJ Walker, welcome back. Okay. So there we go on the SPY. I'm sure we'll come back to this. We're probably going to ask Matt Maley about this. We're going to ask 13 about this. So I'm sure we're going to check back in on the SPY. But let's break into some of the news here that happened over the weekend. And we have to start with Nvidia. Let's face it. First of all, just to kind of give you an idea of where we're at with Nvidia, we had recently broke to new highs, but we're right back down. We're actually beneath the breakout point, and we're still holding the recent uptrend since August, right? So this trend line here represents that uptrend that we're in, and we're just above it. We actually looked at that line here today. But let's talk about what's going on here with Nvidia. First of all, as you all know, I'm not breaking any news here. We've got Nvidia earnings this week. It's going to be Wednesday after the close, and it is without a doubt going to be the biggest event to affect the market this week. So we'll see what we get. Personally, you ask me for a gut feeling here, I would imagine that they probably beat the number. The question is going to be, how does the stock trade? And the reason that that's the question is we're starting to get some more news out here. We had reports of the new Blackwell chip running too hot. Remember, this is the big AI chip that a lot of companies were ordering and pulling through some of their orders. This was responsible for a lot of Nvidia's just massive beats and huge moves to the upside. So that chip is running too hot. This means that there are less data centers, or there's a slower opening rate of new data centers. So really just not good news here. And in fact, I was reading another report. I was reading that Nvidia is actually asking customers to change the design of the server racks. From what it sounds like, as you start to add more of these together in the rack, that's when the overheating problem starts to happen. So Nvidia, I guess, is asking their customers to redesign the server rack. That doesn't seem very easy to do. Doesn't seem like you can pivot really quickly. Jay Harris, that's the Blackwell chip from Nvidia that we're discussing here. So the other thing is Nvidia calls this normal. Quote, the engineering iterations are normal and expected, end quote. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I'd like to get some information. I know we have some chip engineers that will occasionally visit us here on the show. I'd love to hear from you folks if that's the case. Comp, if he shows up, or Amanda, I know that they both work with these products regularly. So I'd like to have a little bit more of a discussion on that. That's not something in my wheelhouse, but it just doesn't seem like big delays like this, especially on a product where you did a whole bunch, where you sold a whole bunch. It doesn't necessarily seem normal. Okay. So we'll see. Jonathan saying the latest chip is Grasshopper. Blackwell is the last gen. The reports are about the Blackwell chip. So whichever generation it is, or whichever the newest one is, the reports for these overheatings are the reason that this report came out. Now, we'll see if there's any more information about this in the earnings. I would imagine that the CEO, that Jensen's going to be very bullish on that call. I would imagine he'd probably minimize this, whatever discussion, but I would definitely think that some of the analysts are going to ask follow-up questions about this. And let's see how that actually affects the print. I'm not sure if it's going to affect the numbers so much as it would affect the sentiment of how the stock trades. Now, looking at the stock and where we're at right here, I had mentioned we're above this trend line, so we definitely don't want to lose that. If we do lose that, one of the things that we're going to be looking for is, are we able to quickly recapture that? Because like we saw with some of these moving averages, sometimes the price actually breaks it and dips beneath, but if it can reclaim it really quickly, that can actually be bullish, or it can actually continue to trade in that direction. So how the stock trades today and going into the earnings print on Wednesday, I think is going to be really, really important. And what we'll do here as a group is we'll continue to check on these levels so that you have the most updated levels prior to that report. I have no position going into this report as of right now. That is to say, I don't hold Nvidia. I don't hold any of the accompanying Nvidia ETFs. And I don't even have a position on the Qs or the SQQQ or the TQQQ or anything like that. We'll see if that changes as we get closer. Obviously, we've got the session today, the session tomorrow, and then the regular session on Wednesday prior to this report. Now, looking at some of the levels here, aside from the trend line, which we already know we need to stay above, the 50-day moving average here is going to be at 131.59. All right. So that's kind of in play here. The other thing is we can draw a Fibonacci retracement on this and see if we can get some other levels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the big gap up that started this bull run. And then I'm going to drag this over the high here. Okay, so we have a couple of levels here. This one right in here kind of catches my eye. This 123 to 124 level. This is, I think at some point, this is definitely going to get tested. You can see we actually use this as resistance on the way up. We use this as support as we were trading sideways and trying to print new highs. We actually broke through this, recaptured this, lost it, recaptured it again, and went on a run. So I really think this area right in here, let's call it 123 to 124, thereabout, is going to prove to be a pretty important area here for NVIDIA if we can continue to move to the downside. Before that happens, we're going to need to change trend. We're going to need to take out the 50, and that 100 is sitting right above it. But this level right here is one that I would pay attention to. If you want now to prepare for some more downside levels in case we get a humongous move, and actually we might ask Anne-Marie about setting up a new trade for the earnings print. We'll see how that goes on Tuesday. Here are some other levels for you to take a look at. I don't know that this $100 level, 108, I don't know that this is going to be in play in the near term. We would actually have to lose the 200 at 109.25 there before that one comes into play. So that's what's going on with NVIDIA here. I just want you to be prepared with some of those levels. And this came out over the weekend. Midway through the week, we have probably the biggest earnings report of the entire fall season here. So that's what's going on. I definitely want to give I want to get thoughts on this. We're definitely going to ask 13 about this. I'm also going to ask Matt Maley about this, all of that. Hugh saying NVIDIA products run hot. AMD refuses to do that. So this is interesting. First of all, I have no experience with NVIDIA chip servers. The only experience I have with NVIDIA products, and it's extensive, are going to be their personal computing GPUs. And I will say that I actually have the opposite in my own personal experience. AMD products, whether they're CPUs or GPUs, often run more hot than my NVIDIA GPU. But again, we're talking about specific chips for server racks, and I think that's entirely different. Full disclosure, the computer that I'm on right now has an NVIDIA GPU that has been running since, I think, 2021, and an AMD CPU. Both of those have been running strong, and I don't have problems with the temps on either of them. So again, I think that this is just specific to the new chip and the ones in the server racks. Okay. Let's keep moving. I'm sure we're going to come back to NVIDIA today. We're also going to keep an eye on option flow. Option flow the week of earnings could be pretty important, so I'll keep an eye on that when the regular session opens. But let's keep moving on here. Next, we have Save, everyone's favorite, Spirit Airlines. This thing has just been real tough recently. We've had a lot of really kind of bad news here. Now Save filing for bankruptcy protection. So here we go. Stock's down another 5.5% in the pre-market here. It's barely hanging on to dollar territory. I'll say this, if you guys want to short it, that's going to be up to you. To me, I'm not trying to short a dollar stock here. Really not a whole lot of opportunity there, even if everything goes well. The stock was halted here this morning. Let's see if it still is. Don't think so. No, not anymore. Was halted here this morning. In any case, that's what's going on with Save here. We'll see. If you guys are trading this, I want to know. Excuse me. I want to know about it. I'm definitely going to pass on this one. Definitely going to pass on this. And for any of you that have flown Spirit in the past and have horror stories to tell everybody, maybe this marks a good day for you, as that doesn't look like that will be going continuing here. So in any case, Save your news, filing for bankruptcy protection. Okay, next here is going to be this. I got to know, how many people watched the fight? How many of you watched the fight? Did anyone enjoy the fight? What did you think of the fight? I'm sure we're going to be talking about that a lot. The thing here, though, ticker NFLX, this is going to be Netflix. This is going to be an interesting day. A couple of things. Netflix said that there was a record 60 million households worldwide tuned in for the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight. I know the actual Paul Tyson fight, which was the big draw here, underwhelming. It's that's, I guess, putting it nicely. It seems to be that it was not the greatest. I know that there are a lot of people talking about it being, rigged and all of that. I'm not going to go into any of that. I will say I did watch it on Friday evening. What was it? The lightweight fighting class with Ramos and Barrios. That fight was unbelievable. The fight between the two women was insane. Those two women are extremely tough. They went toe-to-toe for a number of rounds. So there was other stuff in the product, but the overwhelming fight wasn't that great. Now, that actually took a back seat to the streaming issues that were going on. I mean, every person that I knew that had a Netflix subscription at some point was texting me personally or a group thread that we're all in, saying that the buffering was terrible. They had to restart the app. Just a whole bunch of problems there. And it lasted for a majority of the fight. The stream that I was watching shut off a couple of times. I was able to get it back, and I don't really feel like I missed a whole lot. I wasn't really watching it all that closely. The two fights that I mentioned, with the Ramos Barrios fight and then the fight between the two women, those actually I noticed buffering the least during those two fights. So at the end of the day, the two best fights had the least amount of buffering, but man, oh man, problems across the board. I'm curious to see how this trades here. I'm curious to know how you folks are going to deal with this. Are you going to trade this? Are you going to trade this to the downside? Do we think that the number here, the 60 million households worldwide, do we think that's enough to really drive the price up here today? If we take a look inside, you can see this is what Netflix is doing. So we traded a little bit lower here on Friday. We're actually lower here in the pre-market. I wouldn't be shocked if there's another down move here in Nvidia today. Now, I don't know if that's going to hold. And again, with some of the numbers here, maybe looking forward, those numbers are going to carry us higher, but I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be terribly shocked if Nvidia kind of took a dip here today. You can actually see we ran up into this fight as well. So if people are going to be in here shorting this, I wouldn't be shocked if 800 to the downside comes in. Keith here saying, I think Netflix dumps. Keith, I would not be surprised to see this at all. Now, I have no position on Netflix. I am going to watch Netflix here. I'm probably going to wait out the first 5 minutes because you might get a little bit of a head fake with Netflix, right? You might get one of those pulls out of the open. It might even move 10, 15 points, and then buyers might step in and jam that thing. So I kind of want to wait it out. Netflix, ticker NFLX, definitely on the watch list for day trades here today. Again, that's what's going on here. Lots of positive numbers for the amount of households watching it, but some technical difficulties that I'll say X was filled with people complaining about this. Screenshots, all these different problems. We'll see if some of those problems were forgotten with the NFL slate, with the college slate, which was excellent on Saturday, and then the NFL slate on Sunday. Maybe some of those emotions have quelled a little bit, but we'll see. My gut tells me we pull off the open here on Netflix. Does it dump all day? Probably not. It's been really, really strong. But with this run up into this event and then some of the problems with the event, I wouldn't be shocked if we dump here right out of the open. Curious to hear what you think. And believe me, anyone that we bring on here, I'm going to ask them what they thought about the fight and what they thought about their experience. I know everyone had it a little bit differently. Okay. Next here is going to be some news on Amazon. And this is probably welcome news. Welcome news here. Hugh, by the way, really quickly, agree on Netflix needs a good pullback anyway. I agree with you, Hugh. We'll see if we get that today. That could actually be a pretty good trade setup. Okay. On Amazon, here's what we got. So the news here is Jeff Bezos has finished selling his shares for now. We talked a lot about the 200 wall. The 200 wall actually fell live here on stream. We were trading that. We were scalping Amazon through that big wall. I think it took 3 attempts on that morning before it finally busted through. And you can see it actually made a nice little run here. Shout out to Red Dog, who's been all over this one. We had him on for T3 last week. Did an unbelievable job trading this one last week. And now that it's dipping, I look for him to be able to set up some more trades here. I am going to be doing the same thing. The big thing that stands out here, obviously, the 200 wall that we just talked about, that we just got through. If this news is true and he's done selling shares, at least for now, then hopefully that 200 wall won't be as difficult to break through if we do end up dipping through it. Looking at the chart here, we're currently sitting at 203. We actually have the 9-day simple moving average at 198.63. That is right beneath that $200 level. We also have the 0.382 Fibonacci level, pretty much right here at 200. The actual value there is 198.46. So let's call it 198.5. What I did in order to get this is when we were looking for some more upside targets on Amazon. Remember, when this thing was really kind of trading higher here, I did a fib-based trend extension where I drew from the low down here in January of 2023 to the high that we put in the summer of 2024, and then measured the regression down to this pullback in August. That gave us some levels above. And if you want to see where those levels go, here we are. So we were looking for some more upside levels here. Golden ratio still at 227 and change. I'm just going to call it 227 for that round number. And then obviously that 0.5 number is going to be right around 213. I got it at 212.82, but let's just call it 213. So the question here is, does Amazon continue to pull, or do we kind of hold this 200 level? If we do, I actually think this makes for a real good setup going into the end of the year here. If the market cooperates and doesn't break down entirely, we pull back to a support level and hold it. If you, that's going to shake out some of the people that were trading this breakout, and that could set up for the next move higher. The other thing you'll notice here is that the RSI is pretty much in no man's land, so we're not totally overcooked. And that could help us make those move to new highs. The other thing that I'm wondering, although we got news that Jeff is done selling, is Mackenzie going to be selling any? I think she's got some philanthropic trust or something of that nature. She sells some stocks too. So we'll see if that comes into play here at all. But that's what's going on Amazon. What I'd be looking for here is a 200 hold on the downside. 200 hold on the downside. Maybe we can set up a swing long here on Amazon. So there you go. That's what's going on. Let's see. All right. Next, another one of everyone's favorite stock. I do see a banner coming across the bottom here. BTBT looks like this is shares are trading lower after the company reported worse than expected Q3 financial results. So this is going to be with the Bitcoin move. Really quickly, Bitcoin here, 89,940 on the future. So it looks like it just lost that 90,000 handle. BTBT reporting earnings here moving lower. If this one might be in play here for today, we'll see what the volume looks like. I'd expect a little bit more volume here on those earnings, but we'll see when the market actually opens. Appreciate you throwing up that banner there. BTBT moving lower on earnings, down 8% here in the pre-market. Okay, but let's talk about SMCI. I know you folks have been trading this a lot recently. This has been a wild stock for 2024, probably one of the most wild movers of the entire year here. Some good news, though, or at least some green arrows here this morning. SMCI up about 13% here this morning. Shares surged 12.5% early in pre-market trading after plans to submit a compliance plan to NASDAQ, and that was per CNBC. So I saw that here this morning. Looks like SMCI trying to go higher here, or trying to, do whatever they can to get this entire debacle cleaned up. And meet the listing requirements to trade on the NASDAQ. So stocks responding positively here in the pre-market, 13.5% here. If we take a look at some of the levels, stocks here hitting $21. So I know we lost that $20 level last week. I'm imagining that there were a bunch of traders playing that $20 level. And it looks like we're getting a little bit of a bounce back here today. I do want to see if we get any carry through on this move. I'm in no rush to trade this here out of the open. This is another one that I think you'd benefit from kind of waiting for this to shake out right around the open. Let's see what the market ends up doing with this. It is, we're pretty much in oversold territory. So we are at a spot where this stock could bounce. But it is going to be headline driven. So we'll see here on SMCI. That's what's going on. Trying to get back in the NASDAQ good graces. Okay. Keith Smith, Lord, I remember I told you Friday about my options didn't move and the stock lost 20% in 2 days. I held my call options and now they are all super green. That was a really good spot. I do remember you mentioning that. Really, really good job there. That, I think what I like the most about that, in fact, we're going to start Monday morning with a 1-up. You just leveled up there, Keith. You're watching price action, right? Like, what's going on, what's affecting the stock, but you're watching the price action. You say something stands out here to me. Now you're being rewarded for taking that. So really good stuff here. We're going to celebrate wins all Monday long. If you got them, let me know. We'll celebrate it. SMCI, I don't think the trade is done. We're likely going to get another one here today. Another trade here today. Okay, a couple of more things to take a look at here. OKLO, I want to start with. Saw a very, very interesting tweet here. Now, we've talked a lot about some of the whole nuclear theme, all of the stuff that's going on with this. Tim Melvin has come on and told us that, hey, look, folks, you're trading a story. Story is going to be volatile. There's going to be lots of up and downs. It's not something where if you don't respond well to volatility, probably not the trade for you. Runway here is pretty long. It's going to be years and years and years. But in the meantime, there's been a ton of trading opportunities on this. So we're going to start here with the daily chart. This is the trend that 13 and I immediately realized is going on here with OKLO, and you can see that when the stock gets up towards this trend line, it really does struggle. Now, we've recently been pulling back. We came into this support level, let's call it 18, and we've held it so far. Today, though, we're up almost 8.5%. All right, and if you take a look in the news here, you will see exactly why. All right. Oklo, Trump's new Energy Department Secretary, Chris Wright, is also on the board of directors for OKLO. In fact, I saw this from a tweet, or I guess let's call it a post. What do we call it? A post, an X, a tweet, whatever you guys are calling it. This one comes from Zero Hedge. I'm going to go ahead and throw it there in the chat. And when I saw this, I was like, oh man, this is definitely going to be a play through the Trump presidency. I would imagine as long as this guy's connected, this is likely going to be in play here. So we've talked about OKLO before. This, I think, just adds fuel to the fire. Please don't forget OKLO, pretty extreme short interest. I'm not getting a float reading here, which is why I'm not getting the short percent of float. But if you take a look at the raw short interest, you can see this thing has just been climbing and climbing and climbing. And the last report we had, remember, Benzinga gets its short information from the filings. So we do not estimate any of this. We give you actual information from the filings. This was updated November 11th. So this is not even really stale data. This data comes every 2 weeks. We're a week into it, barely even stale. A new high here on amount of shares being held short. So OKLO definitely has the juice here for a potential short squeeze. Now we've got a catalyst. with Trump's cabinet and with the board, or excuse me, with Chris, who is on the board of OKLO, now being Trump's new energy department secretary. So I have no position on this. I'm definitely going to be watching this one. If I do swing this, I will probably use options, or I will do it in small size because, again, it's likely to be pretty volatile. Option chain here looks pretty good. Looks like there's a lot of activity on it. So that's kind of what's going on here with OKLO. Okay. Now let's move to some more price target adjustments. We'll take a quick look here at the Mag 7s. I did notice that Tesla was popping here today. Tesla's still up just about 6%. Tesla shares trading higher following reports of President-elect Donald Trump policy outlook on regulations for autonomous driving. So this was making the rounds here on CNBC. This actually made the rounds last night in overnight trading. If you're part of Robinhood's overnight trading, Tesla was a monster rip yesterday. Now, it looks like we did come into highs here. We're about 350. We've kind of come off those highs, but we're doing a pretty decent job holding here. Tesla definitely going to be in play here today. Our group, you guys have been absolutely fantastic trading Tesla. You guys have been real sharp calling some of those reversals, calling some of those support levels. Tesla is going to be one of, I would say, probably Nvidia, Tesla, and Netflix are going to be your three big stocks today going into the open. We'll see what happens with some of the news flow, but these three likely to be in play here. I'd be even interested in trading Tesla here today, so we'll see what happens with that. But that's what's going on here. Real quick look at the rest of the Mag 7s here. Tesla pop after that report about Trump. We had Nvidia down, which we kind of already covered. Google, Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, and Apple are about flat. I did want to check in on Meta because we looked at that very early in the pre-market trade. This is still just about flat. I guess it's a little bit lower. Google's just about flat, just a little bit higher here. We take a look at Apple here. This pretty much is flat, not even up 0.1% there. So we'll see. The big movers here seem to be Nvidia and Tesla, and we'll see if that changes throughout the course of the day. Now, let me go ahead and go through some of the different price target moves that we had and how that's going to affect some of the charts. First one I'm going to start with here is Nike. This is one that we've actually been trading a lot recently. I had a pretty decent short on this one. I just got shaken out. I really wish I held that a little bit longer. The plan was perfect. It went right to the target. Look at that. It held 75. Target was 75 to 77. It went right there and it held it. Question is now, do we turn around? Do we break down and test this $70 level? This would be the next downside spot for sure. $70 here. This is a triple bottom, it looked like. Maybe it didn't quite get to 70, maybe 71 there. Triple bottom here, though. If we continue to break down, this for sure is going to be the next level. Right above it, we got all of these moving averages giving us a very, very clear picture here. I got the 9-day moving average at 77.5. I got the 100-day moving average at 78.75, and I got the 50-day moving average at 80.75. 200-day pretty extended up there at 87.5. I'm not sure we get there. That also is going to be toying with a gap fill if we get all the way up there. We'll see when we get there. But for right now, I am encouraged that Nike has kind of held this area. Now, Nike did have its price target cut from 78 to 73 at Cowen. So we're down here about 0.25% in the pre-market. Volume is extremely light. We'll see. We'll learn. I'll say this. We'll learn a lot about Nike here today, depending on how it trades, given this, right? We've had a nice move down. We moved right to a support level. That's a legitimate support level. And now we're getting a downgrade. It's not a crazy downgrade. Now we're getting a price target adjustment. It's not even a downgrade, and it's not a crazy price target adjustment. It's just Cowen going $5 lower. So if the stock doesn't respond negatively to this price target adjustment, that actually bodes pretty well for a long side trade, maybe as soon as later today or tomorrow. So really curious to see how Nike actually affects this, but that's what's going on here. 78 to 73 on the most recent price target from Cowen. Next here, we're going to talk about is Roku, ticker ROKU here. Maybe a benefit or a beneficiary of the Netflix issues from Friday. Roku did get an upgrade from Baird, and they moved to a $90 price target. So you can see here on the daily chart, look at what Roku did recently. Had a huge drop. I believe that was on earnings, found some support at the 200-day, actually launched off that 200-day, closed the gap, filled the gap. This was actually a really great trade that I straight up missed here. I don't trade Roku as much as I want, but I should because it gives you some of these moves like this. And then once we filled that gap, we rolled over, we broke away from the 50-day with just crazy. This was from Friday's candle, maybe in anticipation of that fight. Who knows? RSI here is kind of in no man's land, but the stock up 2.5% here on the back of that news. So if we take a look inside, you can see where Roku's sitting. Let's see if we take out 71 to the upside. Again, upgrade at Baird, $90 price target. I actually want to take a real quick look here at some recent price targets. One of the other recent one, Jefferies, they seem to be going the opposite way of Baird here. Jefferies, their recent move on this was at the beginning of November. They went to underperform and lowered the price target from 60 to 55. Roku 15 points above that. And then the Baird here recently. Some other reports that were, these are recent. This is from Halloween, basically. You had Rosenblatt at 80 with an $86 price target. You have Needham with a $100 price target. You have McQuire with a $90 price target. Piper at 75, Loop at 70, Wells Fargo at 74, Roku here sitting at 70.5. We're pretty much right in line with a lot of these other price targets. So we'll see how Roku does here today. Again, upgrade at Baird. That's what's driving the stock, plus 2.5% here in the pre-market today. Next one here is a stock we don't cover very often, but it's one that I definitely want to watch, especially given where the chart's at and because we continue to take a look at the consumer. This is going to be ticker H for Hyatt Hotels. You can see we're really kind of trading sideways, and we have been trading sideways for most of 2024. There was one big drop here in August where this really just lost the 200-day. Fairly quick reclaim of that 200-day and right back into the channel. This thing now sitting right at the 9-day EMA, which is right above the 50-day EMA, down 0.75% here today. Hyatt had its price target cut to 153 from 160. That was a Morgan Stanley move. So we're pretty much right at that price target now. It's notable. The reason I'm mentioning it is because the price target previously seemed to be that resistance area here at 160. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 highs testing that area or thereabouts here on ticker H. Now we have a price target cut to 153. So I guess what we want to see here, does Hyatt hold this 152 level? If it loses it, I would imagine 149 is probably next. If it holds it, maybe we can bounce and move towards 160. And then obviously we'll see if there's any headlines coming out about how they're doing with their bookings at some of their hotels. All right, so that is going to be Hyatt. All right. Next here, we are going to take a look at BIB. That's ticker BIIB. That's Biogen Iodec. You can see Biotech has been tough. And I would imagine, we had a brief discussion last week. I think there were people on both sides of the aisle here on Biotech being a rough trade in Trump 2.0. We'll see how this ends up shaking out. Obviously, it's been rough recently when RFK was appointed the Director of Health and Human Services. XBI took a huge hit. You can see some of these biotech stocks really kind of at lows. This Biogen chart does not look great. Really does not look great. Clearly in a downtrend here. We are in oversold territory. So on an RSI basis, with this thing having an RSI of 20.35, definitely oversold. So maybe a near-term bounce here. I could see this really kind of coming into 144, 144.5 for a potential bounce spot before it bounces. But that's what's going on here. Biogen shares trading lower after Needham downgraded the stock from buy to hold. Price target here at 270. All right. So I had mentioned the XBI move with the RFK appointment. Let's take a look at that. Here is ticker XBI. If we zoom in to the recent price action, you can see on Friday, this thing just a devastating move to the downside here. A big move for XBI. This actually took us beneath the 200-day, with gusto too. So we'll see if this actually kind of firms up here. To me, we got other stuff that we could trade. This, I'll let this kind of shake out. I'll let this kind of tell me what it wants to do before trying to play hero here on XBI. So, all right, that pretty much runs through the entire list of what I wanted to do here. I did want to mention here, appreciate you, producer, bringing up Dell. If you have that Dell headline, let's go ahead and do that. Dell here up almost 2.5% here in the pre-market. Dell trading higher. It's most likely Dell ships first 72 Nvidia GPU monster. AI rocket just got a massive boost, says the Dell CEO. So we got some bad news about the Blackwell chips overheating. Some good news here regarding Dell. I know that there have been several people who have been trading Dell here in our community. Good luck if you are. Looks like we're getting a little bit of a boost here. We're also worth mentioning, Dell does report earnings. This is confirmed for Tuesday, the week of Thanksgiving, Tuesday after market closes on November 26th. So Dell earnings coming next week. But here this morning, some pretty decent news, likely driving it higher. Okay. May I ask what you are reading this morning? Benzinga Pro, Hugh. I'm good. And actually, I do have CNBC on another screen here. But yeah, Benzinga Pro and all of the what my producers are doing here. Okay. Nader says the fight was also really bad. Yeah, I'm curious to get everyone's thoughts here on the fight. And did you enjoy it? I will say I did kind of enjoy it. I watched the whole thing, like not just the Tyson Paul fight, but a lot of the other fights as well, and they were pretty enjoyable. I don't watch a lot of boxing, so maybe it was the novelty for me, but curious to hear what you folks think. All right. I got some high value movers, but I pretty much want to wait for 13 so we can go through them together. I know 13 often breaks those down, so we'll go ahead and do that. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and take a look at some of the other stocks that you folks want to do. Lilly, absolutely. Michael James saying fight was rigged. Michael, you are not the only person to say that. I saw a lot of that coming out over the weekend. Izzy here mentioning Tyson was not, I think you meant assertive. Unsure of exactly what you mean there, but to me, I saw a lot. To me, it felt like Tyson was kind of holding back, and you know what? Maybe that's just my bias because I remember the Mike Tyson of old, and frankly, he is a 58-year-old man now. So there is, father time is real, but it did feel like he was kind of holding back. So I understand where people are coming from with the fight was rigged and all of that. I don't know. I hope not, but I don't know for sure. Anyway, I'm sure when Netflix opens and gets some volume, I'm sure we're going to be discussing that. Okay. Hugh saying, I'm sorry, my question was actually, so what are you trading today? Well, I'll tell you what, we are going to take a look at some of these movers, Hugh. That's still to come here. And if we run out of charts to take a look at, we're going to do Lilly next here. In fact, I'll just go ahead and cue that up so we don't get confused. We're going to do Lilly next year. If we run out of charts, we'll start going through the movers. So I'm definitely going to look for those. But as far as some of the bigger stocks are here today, the two big ones that I think are going to give us the best trading opportunities, at least from where we sit right now, Tesla and Netflix. Those two likely going to be in play here today. We'll see if Amazon gets rolling here. Amazon's actually holding steady here in the pre-market, which is really encouraging to see. So we'll see if we get a trade on those. We do have some targets here today. And you know what? Thinking about it is mentioning RCAT. I know RCAT is a favorite amongst our group here. We'll absolutely take a look at that as well. Okay. And we'll get into all that stuff. Okay. You guys are awesome. And then Jane Smith, you're already trading UABS. I guess, you know what? Maybe we should take a look at that. That was a big mover from last week. I'll add it to the list here, Jane, just to make sure that we cover all the stuff. Okay. Jay Harris, eat more chicken. Am I right, my man? You wanted to take a look at Lilly. And Lilly here. So this has been just an absolutely great mover for us recently. Lilly here. We need to decide which is the next move. We are very, very clearly at a support level. We actually just broke this low here back from August, but you can see we're actually dealing with some of the supports here from earlier this year. This is back in February. This is a previous resistance area turned very, very strong support, and this is right where we're at now. Now, the one thing that I want to keep in mind here, look at the RSI. So we are actually fairly extended from the 200-day to the downside. In fact, we haven't really been this extended from the 200-day in a long time. I know the price was different, but man, maybe 2023. We are extended here to the downside from the 200-day for the first time in a long time. Also worth noting here, RSI definitely in oversold territory. 25-21 is your reading here on the daily RSI. There's been a lot of selling volume recently. I would imagine at some point, if nothing else, this just kind of dead cat bounces and holds on. Maybe this is where we get here today. But if you break down here, I would say that the next reasonable level in here is probably 650. So if you don't think we're going to hold on to this area, if you think in other words, if you think that the next move is lower, the next substantial move is lower here, 645, 650 looks to be a pretty decent target. I do have this gap in here. Okay, this gap fills at what, 666? Oh gosh, if you're superstitious, look out. But anyway, this gap fills here at 666. That would be what I would say here for the next level if this keeps moving. The one thing to keep in mind with this, obviously there's going to be more competition in the GLP-1 space and the weight loss drugs and all of that. But Eli has a robust pipeline of other drugs too. So while this is moving to the upside with GLPs, it's likely to move to the downside with GLP news too, especially as that competition increases. Please keep in mind, Lilly has a robust portfolio of other drugs as well. It's not just a one trick wonder here, but we're pretty much at a decision spot. I have no position on this, Jay Harris. I like trading this just because a high price stock, this thing really moves. If you catch a really good entry on options, this thing can be an extremely profitable mover. So I'm with you, especially in terms of a target here. But I don't necessarily have, I can't necessarily tell you for sure which the next direction is going to be. So if we break down, I gave you some of those targets here. If we continue to trade back up, I do expect maybe a little bit of a resistance here at 775. We'll see. But ultimately, what I'd be hoping for is a return to that 200-day. And then if you're long, obviously at that point, you're hoping for a cross above that 200-day. Got that value here at 835 so far, 835. Okay, so that's Lilly. Diamond Hotline. I absolutely love the avatar and I love the handle here. I'm surprised you did not talk about Palantir. Well, a couple of things about that. Number one, there was a lot of other news here this morning. Number two, our group has been absolutely destroying Palantir recently. We have been all over this to the upside. I feel like at least in the late summer, early fall, Palantir probably represents more profits for this group than any other single stock. Maybe there was one of those crazy small stocks that halt fest, the BTBT or BTCT or whatever. Maybe one of you guys really kind of hit that out of the park. But in terms of sustained move, this entire group has been long Palantir from the high 20s. So we talk about this all of the time. Now, this morning here, it looks like we're down fractionally. We're about even. This has done a really good job holding the upside move here, really holding on to 65. This was actually holding on to 66 for some time. I don't have any new news here on Palantir. It looks like there was some articles that came out over the weekend regarding Palantir. I don't really know that there's necessarily anything else here. We do see some of the insiders here selling. This was one of the directors here has been selling recently. This was another director selling recently. This was the same one. Peter Thiel was selling, but that was back at the beginning of October. We covered that already. So Palantir here, this has been such a good run for us. honestly, because I sold out of my long position that made me a good amount of money here, what I want next, I want a regression back to the mean. I want to move back down. I want this to set up for another long side trade. Look at where we're at on this daily chart. Tom, first of all, I've been in since 36. This is what I'm talking about. Grouch of Wall Street says, who here doesn't own Palantir? Lol. We've like I said, this I'm really proud of this because our group has really knocked this one out of the park. But look at where we're at here. We are, in fact, I'm going to measure this for you. We're currently at 65 and a half. The 200-day is 29.72. 29.72. We are almost 55% above the 200-day. Look, folks, gravity is a real thing. All right. Newton, he did really good work on gravity. Galileo, all of these scientists did really, really good work on gravity. This stock is coming back down at some point. It's coming back down at some point. Hopefully that comes back to a point we can set up a long side trade. That's kind of what I'm waiting out here. Now, this has been a ripper to the upside, so I am not trying to jump in front of a momentum train and try to be a hero with shorting stuff. I'm not trying to do that. I'll wait for this to confirm a top here. RSI 82.28, and it's been overcooked for a while on this recent move up. So if you want to short Palantir, I'm with you. I totally get it. I'm not trying to short momentum moves to the upside. I'll wait for this to confirm a reversal. Maybe we can pick up some move to the downside, but ultimately what I'm waiting at here is another opportunity to load this to the long side. Long term, very bullish on Palantir. We've really done a good job hitting it recently, but let's wait for it to reset. Okay. Hugh, I'm glad somebody got the joke about physicists because I am about as much of a science nerd as it gets when it comes to physics and astronomy. So I'm glad somebody else got that. You're making me feel pretty good. All right, folks, it is 8:51 Eastern, and it is time to bring on 13. 13, how are you doing here this morning?
I'm doing just fine. How's everybody this morning? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'll tell you what, an eventful weekend. I definitely want to talk to you about the fight, not so much the football slate on Sunday. So the first thing that I had said earlier, I know you weren't with us here, just to kind of recap real quick. Netflix was on the list of stocks that we took a look at here earlier for two reasons. Number one, they said they had a record 60 million households worldwide tune in for that Jake Paul fight. And in addition to that, we also had all of those buffering and streaming issues. So the first thing that I want to get from you, what did you think about the fight itself? And then can you talk about any of the streaming issues or any issues that you encountered? And then optionally, as a last thing, are you looking to trade this here today and how?
So I thought the main event was awful. The two fights that preceded it were absolute bangers. I loved seeing both those contests go on, and man, that was especially the women fight. They were just slugging each other. That was very entertaining to watch. But as far as the streaming issues go, I was trying it on my phone, I was trying it on my computer, and I was trying it from my TV. So I was trying to see which one would work the best. The phone was pretty much dead in the water. I had no such luck with getting anywhere on the phone. I was able to watch it mostly on my computer. The TV, I had to keep going back and then joining the event through the Netflix app on the TV. But for the most part, it seemed like if you were watching it from the computer, you had the best chance of getting a good amount of viewing in before it started to lag or needed a buffer.
Yeah, so full disclosure here, 13, that was exactly my experience. I did watch this on the computer itself. I had other sports on the main TV. I was two screening it. And I will say I did run into some buffering issues, but I was talking to you. I was talking to Stay Focused. I was talking to my buddies that I work with. I mean, I was talking to a lot of people about this fight. And I'll tell you what, the stream on the computer seemed to have far less issues than some of those other devices. So awesome. It seems like your experience confirms the same thing. I know I said it was optional, but now I'm going to press you for it. Are you looking to trade this in either direction today based on that stuff?
Maybe if there's, I'd be looking for some downside this morning. I think that if we do go weaker here in Netflix, we're going to come down to about probably around somewhere between 785 and 790 is where my guess would be for support. That's pretty close to the 20-day SMA as well, which I also think will rise up to that range as well. But I do think because of how extended it's been, the issues people were having. I mean, this was kind of a little bit of a test for Netflix. This is the most streamed event in history, and they couldn't pull that off. That's not good. They are because when you think of streaming, they're like the first ones to really get into the business.
Industry leader, absolutely.
Yeah. And if they can't pull off a live event that's the most streamed event, then I wouldn't have confidence going forward until they fix their issues. So I think that this needs to come back in a little bit. You have that the issue they had with the fight. You have it being extended. RSI is still currently over 70. MACD looks like it's trying to roll over. This looks like we're going down to cool off for a little bit. I don't think we're going to completely, fall apart here unless there's some other macroeconomic issue that pulls the whole market down. But I think we are going to get a little bit of a retracement here in Netflix underneath 800.
Yeah, that sounds spot on to me. No surprise there, 13. John here from the chat said, had buffering issues and the commentators, except for Roy Jones, sucked. You know what? I kind of agree with that. I didn't recognize, I'm not, like I said, I'm not big into boxing, so shame on me if I should have recognized the two other commentators there. Roy Jones was good.
Rosie Perez is an actress.
Rosie, yeah, I'm not familiar. And then the other guy, he was very, very excited, and shout out to him, but it didn't really do much for me.
Yes, you have to overplan for an event like this. And if you saw the main event, Stay Focused, you kind of got the idea that they didn't overplan.
Yeah, no, completely.
That was a part of the plan.
Completely agree. I kind of compare this. I know the numbers aren't exactly the same, so maybe it's not a true apples to apples comparison, but I really kind of compare this to what X was trying to do when they were trying to get some of these streams like Trump rallies and all of that, that would get 10, 12. I remember the RFK, when RFK announced he was going to join the Trump team prior to the election, that stream got like 15 million people. Zero issues on X, zero issues. And I understand this is a little bit different animal, so I'm not trying to draw apples to apples, but worth mentioning there. Also here, Stay Focused saying, good morning, of course, good morning to you as well. CTO of Netflix should be canned. Canned. Okay, tell us how you really feel there, Stay Focused. Again, we are going to watch Netflix, ticker NFLX, out of the open here. It is holding lower here, just about minus 1% in the pre-market there. So, okay.
Do you want me to kind of go over some of the economic headlines that we should be keeping an eye on for this week?
Absolutely. I covered pretty much price targets, obviously the Nvidia earnings, but yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay, so just real briefly, just to give you an idea of the economic reports I'll be looking towards for this week. There's nothing really today that I'm paying attention to. Nothing super important, but tomorrow we get housing starts and building permits. Wednesday we get mortgage data, crude oil data. These are like indexes, things like that, and draws. We also have some Fed speak. Cook will be speaking, and also Bowman. Wednesday after the market closes, we also get Nvidia earnings. That's something that a lot of folks, if not the entire market's waiting for. Thursday we get jobless claims and Philly Fed data. They're going to give us data they collected and what they see. We also have existing home sales that come out that morning. And then finally, Friday, we have consumer sentiment and CFTC speculative positions. Those are the economic reports I'm looking forward to this week.
Okay, and remember, I started off there with some Fed members. Remember last week, we noticed the phenomenon when the Fed speaks, the market leaks. So the question is going to be, is it going to do the same thing here this week with some of those Fed names on the horn?
It'll be Wednesday.
Okay. And Wednesday, man, I tell you what, you better get your rest tonight and tomorrow, because Wednesday is going to be a big day. Stuff during the day, Nvidia after hours. Woo!
Yeah, let's pull it all. Let's just do that. That'll be fun. Okay. Besides, also, I don't know. I'll definitely sleep, but the Starship test flight got moved from Monday today to tomorrow.
Okay. So, and is it the same time? Can we still watch that as a group on happy hour, 5 p.m. Eastern?
They haven't changed the time. It's the day.
Perfect. Perfect. So we should be good for that. Okay, we do have some movers to get through here. We should have plenty of time. I love the new format. There's just so much time to prep for everything that's going on. Big shout out to our team helping us with some of the news headlines here. Of course, a humongous shout out to Benzinga Pro. This is how we stay on top of news and happenings of the market all day, every day. All of that stuff. Tiny Pie, big shout out to you. Big shout out to you. Rocket to the Mars. We'll see. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Jonathan, because that's pretty interesting. That's kind of the route that MSTR is going. They do they raise cash and then they use those proceeds to buy more Bitcoin. That's kind of been how they've operated. So thank you for that news, Jonathan.
So here you go on Mara. Mara digital shares are trading lower after the company announced 700 million convertible note offering. 1956 is where this puts Mara at. What's interesting there is that we are flirting with that 200-day that also actually corresponds to the 9-day EMA right now, also fills the gap. We are at an area here where I would not be surprised if Mara bounces. So this also, you know what, this is definitely one to add to the watch list for a potential trade here today.
And looked like Tom B was wanted me to give a brief mention on what I see with Nvidia here. And I'll tell you on a daily chart, we did lose the 20-day SMA, or at least, sorry, hold on a second.
You're good.
Turn that down. So it looks like we're starting the day off, or the week off anyway, trading beneath the 20-day SMA. And it looks like we could continue to leak a little bit more. I think 133 might provide some support, which is also right in the area where the 50-day SMA is coming up to. So it seems like we might have one more day of weakness. But I think if we do get that, we're going to get supported by that 133 level as well as the 50-day SMA. That could at least provide us enough support going into the earnings.
Okay. Good stuff there on Nvidia. You don't have any position for this ahead of earnings yet, correct?
Just through ETFs.
Just through ETFs. Yeah. Okay, so we'll see if we do anything else. We got some time before that print, so we'll see if we set any more up here. Okay, really quick question here, David. Who makes the Prime drink? That's that Prime energy drink, right?
Yeah.
With Trump and Elon drinking it at the fight, will a company see a surge? So this is a really good question here from David. Prime.
It's Congo Brands that makes it, but it's a Jake Paul.
Logan Paul, I thought.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, KSI Logan Paul. Yeah.
They push that stuff all the time, So but it's Congo Brands that makes it.
Yeah, here it is. So Congo Brands Prime owns the company Prime Hydration LLC. It operates as a subsidiary under Congo Brands. So there you go. That's exactly it. But you're right here. This is actually a really good primer for this. I'll go ahead and throw this article in the chat as well. This is a really good question, David. This article should answer a lot of those questions that you had there. Really good stuff. Really good stuff here early on. All right. Tiny Pie giving us some more information here. Over here in Europe, Prime is collecting dust on the shelf. It had hype at the beginning, but it's done now. Interesting stuff there, Tiny Pie. Really interesting.
Yeah, we of course, you have kids, they're gonna want to get it. We got it for a short period of time, but I tried it once. I was like, what is this? It's just another, flavored energy or water or something. I don't know. It was just like nothing impressive. So it's like, this is BS. We're not getting any more.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I stay away from all of that stuff. It really kind of wrecked my stomach with some artificial sugar sweeteners. So I stay away from all that. I drink water and sparkling water, and that's about it. Okay. Good morning, Zippity Doodah. Thanks for joining us here today. All right. You covered Netflix. Tom, did you get what you had hoped to get from 13 out of Nvidia? If not, we can always come back to it.
Movers?
Why don't we do some of the movers, and then we can finish the morning off with ticker time? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. One more comment that I wanted to make here. It was by Crim Brisket. Crim Brisket mentioning the fight. John Jones did the Trump dance. A lot of the NFLers were doing the Trump dance over the weekend. That's interesting. And I thought about this, Crim Brisket, when I was seeing it. I can't help it, but the trader in me was like, how do we take advantage of this in the market? Haven't come up with a way yet. So if you come up with one, let us know.
Sure. Yeah. I'm sure Fortnite will try to create a character that does that.
There you go. Okay. Actually, I
they always do.
Yeah.
That's the biggest IP theft company ever.
You're right about that. Okay. Awesome. Let's go ahead and do some of the movers here.
Yes.
We're going to start here with VINO. Okay. So I see a couple that were on my list here, but this has shifted around since I took a look at it this morning.
I'll tell you what I have on my list, and then you tell me what you have on your list. We'll just start with the ones we both have.
Okay.
The four I went over were NIVF, UAVS, SINT, and RGNX.
Okay. The two big ones that I had were NIVF and SINT. So that's perfect. There's also ATCH. That's a penny play. We'll check on it just to get people prepared, but that was a large volume mover. The other one here was SMCI, but we kind of already talked about that. We can follow up with SMCI when we get closer there. But let's start here. We can do Veno afterwards. Looks like this is already kind of retracing anyway. Let's start with UAVS. All right, because you said that one was on your list here. It was not on my list. Jane Smith is already out here booking gains on UAVS in the morning. Jane, if I recall correctly, you said you did not have the greatest week last week. You rested up over the weekend. You bit into Monday with ferocity, and you're already in the catbird seat. That's exactly what we want to see here. UAVS pushing up on expanding volume here today. I'm going to read you the news here, 13, and then I'm going to turn it over to you for what it means. AG Eagle Aerial Systems invited to the White House for key discussions on commercial unmanned aerial vehicles. 13, this sounds like great news. What say you?
Yeah, this is still the current Biden administration that's wanting this to go down. So we haven't really heard anything about what Trump's going to do when he comes in office. But this usually can mean more money. They want to see how they're likely going to the White House to talk about scaling up production. I'm just speculating at this point. We've traded this one before. It does have under 1 million shares in the float. That's correct for Sideshow T. It is 850,000. That's a result of 2 reverse splits they did earlier this year. One for 20 on February 9th and a 1 for 50 on October 15th. So they also had some news previously that some more of their drones were going to get ordered. I don't think there was a figure attached to that. So this could continue to gain traction now that there's going to be a potential, maybe an expanded government contract role that's being played here. But that news of being invited to the White House is a positive sign.
Okay, real good stuff here. Clearly, it's a positive sign. Clearly, it's affecting the stock. New highs set here on decent volume here in the pre-market. UAVS, this looking pretty good. Float here, 850,000. I think you already covered that. Yep. And on average, we've already almost tripled the average volume here. We still have 23 minutes before we open. So really good stuff here on UAVS. This also likely to be in play here. Okay, we're going to go with SINT next, since this is on both of our lists here. You can see SINT. This is, I think this is classified as a former ex-girlfriend. We traded this one quite a bit off the relative volume scanner. Stock was just above $2 on Friday. We did pop above 350. That impulse move, we kind of regressed some of that, then stayed by the VWAP. I am a little bit concerned that we've pulled away from the VWAP here, but so far we've done a really good job holding 250. I know Smoke Tuna has not shown up yet to give us a bonjour and then also to bless some of these stocks that are pulling back. But if this can hold 250, maybe we have another possible move back up to the VWAP. VWAP here at 324, so 74 cents. That would be a pretty decent scalp right out of the open here. The catalyst going on here, Syntex Technology shares are trading higher after the company announced plans to buy back $500K worth of common stock in the upcoming quarters, which can reduce the total of shares outstanding by approximately 20%. Okay, let's take a look at that here real quick. The float here is 747,000. Shares outstanding is exactly that, at least per Benzinga Pro here. Shares outstanding 747,000. We reduced that by 20%. I haven't done the napkin math here. Let me do that real quick. But 13, this seems like pretty decent news here. What say you?
Yeah, everything reads great. Stock buyback, who doesn't love that? But reducing your outstanding shares by 20% as a result of that, that's pretty big. So the next question I'd have is, great, where's the money going to come from? And that's where I have a lot of question marks. So not sure how they're going to accomplish that. It doesn't seem like they make enough in revenue to do this, and they constantly operate at a loss. The company's not profitable, and they also did a 1-for-200 reverse split on May 28th. So not sure where this money's going to come from to do the stock buyback, but they did give themselves a long stretch of time in order to accomplish this. I think they said over the next several quarters. So maybe they have something that's coming up that they get a lot of money from. I don't know what that could be, but that's the news, is that they're going to be buying back stock over the next several quarters. That's going to reduce their overall outstanding shares by about 20% from now.
Yeah, I just did some napkin math here. That brings the float down from about 747,000 to about 600,000. So still really low float, but there you go on that. Good morning, Jay Rice. It's great to see you, Jay. I know that you had missed some of the stuff that we had talked about earlier here. A couple of things that I wanted to get your opinions on. Nvidia, what do you think about the Blackwell chips overheating? Also, did you have any opinion on the fight? And what does it mean for Netflix that all the buffering issues? I'd be curious to get your thoughts on there. We will talk about Zim here. I'll actually add that to the list. I am not currently in Zim. I'll let 13 answer if he is still in any of that. What?
No, I'm not.
So we will take a look here at Zim. Appreciate you bringing that to the table here. SINT. Just kind of getting back to this. Let's see if it can hold this 250 and make a move back to the VWAP. That would be pretty good. All right. We'll get to NIVF here in a sec. I really quickly wanted to cover Veno. This was a huge rip, retraced about 75% of the move. I want to see what the catalyst here is on Veno. Looks like we just have some forms, a 10Q, 13G. So we're getting a stake here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Looks like we're getting a little bit of a stake here. Okay, this one, 9.9%. I think that's what that just said here. I scrolled. Yep, 9.9%. Okay, so this one, look, I'm okay kind of waiting this one. I know we're still up about 48% here. We did pull back to that 65 EMA, and we held that. We're now above 2. Have some room up here to the VWAP, but that's what's going on here with Veno. Gaucho Group Holdings. Is there anything else really to cover here? I guess maybe the float size, float 611K, so this thing can move. How are the financials doing? I didn't check that at all either. They have very little cash on hand. They burn multiple millions per quarter, so they're going to need to figure out something there. But Veno, that's what's going on here. We'll see if we get a trade. Vino.
So they develop and operate real estate projects in Argentina. So
okay, Argentina's kind of a renaissance there. So
yeah, that's I was getting at, like, if you want to get an idea of where this can end up going, and look and see how what Argentinian policy is doing and how their economy looks. I mean, that's where I would start. But this is on the real estate side. So see what Argentina is doing on real estate if you want to trade that.
Okay. Good stuff there. All right, let's take a look at NIVF here. This is New Gen Live Group. Did I pronounce that right? Gen L. How do you pronounce LVF?
New Gen. That's IVF.
IVF. Okay. New Gen. Okay. Well, there you go. That answers. That makes a lot more sense.
Because when you see what the company does, you'll understand why it's IVF.
Okay. New Gen IVF shares are trading higher after the company inked a binding term sheet with White Lion Capital for $100 million equity line of credit, expandable to $500 million. You can see this stock was a penny stock. This popped above 140. We're back in penny stock territory. Stock's kind of bleeding down here. You got anything on this one? NIVF, 4.47 million shares in the float. And this is obviously an IVF stock. So what do you got here, 13?
Well, from my understanding, this appears to be some kind of fertility clinic based out of Hong Kong. They have 4.475 million shares in the float. Not sure where their income is or what kind of cash they have. The financials that we have provided to us didn't really reveal anything. So unless I dig a little bit further, I don't know what they showed White Lion Capital that made them say, hey, yes, it looks good enough to let you borrow or have a line of credit for 100 million up to 500 million. But apparently, that's what they do. This company helps with the with in vitro fertilization and the whole process of trying to help get pregnant if you're having trouble with that. And it's interesting to me too, because we're in a situation now with China where fewer people are having children. There's a lot of economic disparity happening there right now, and people's spirits are very low. And getting married and having children is not something that young people are doing right now. So the ones that are, the ones that are having a hard time, I think they would go to some place like this. But I don't see really the appeal here, because it seems like this would be expensive for one, and there's a lot of young people right now don't have money, and two, I don't really have a really good read on this cash. This could just be a complete shell. I don't know where the money's coming, or where what the financial situation is in this. So
okay. So there you go. We'll see if we get a trade here. I will say that the action in the pre-market here, not great. You'd like to see some better action here. Yeah.
It could be one of those that just kind of leaks into the open, and then as soon as we find a bottom, it just takes off. Yep.
There you go. Here's the other one that I had on my list. I'm not going to cover it very much. It's a quarter. Yeah. We'll see if some of the gunslingers end up hitting it here. This is ATCH. This was up 65% earlier here, down to 36.5%. Looks like they had earnings here this morning. That's what's going on. Looks like they had year-over-year revenue that was up, but still kind of missed on earnings. So play that one at your own risk. I think we're going to have some better options here. Next one on the list is going to be RGNX. This is Region X Bio. This one I did cover here this morning. Region X Bio shares are trading higher after the company announced closing the first patient in its pivotal trial for Duchenne gene therapy. Good morning, Shannon. Great to see you here this morning. RGNX, this did pop above 13. This is kind of retraced about 50% of the move, but didn't really break down. This actually has been pretty good. We actually closed the distance back to the VWAP here. We're sitting right beneath it. Now, taking a look here, this is a 38 million share float, so not quite as small as some of these other ones, but this one actually has coverage. This one actually moving around here. And in fact, if we take a look here at the financials, this thing burns about 40 million in cash, only has about a quarter left here. So at some point, they're going to need to figure out cash for some of these pivotal trials, as it's mentioning. Quick peek at the short interest here, about 13% of the float shorted, days to cover over 10. So there is a squeeze potential here as well. And insiders, yeah, I was going to say, I checked this earlier, didn't see anything recent. The most recent open market was a sell by I believe the CEO, but that was back in the summer. So I'm not going to put too much into that. 13, I don't know if you covered this one here, RGNX. What do you got?
Yeah, you pretty much hit all the news that I have. The float being 37 million shares, that's on the larger side. But to the point you were making about this could squeeze, I think that's what we're seeing here with this movement. It is short squeezing. The dosing the first patient, that's going to get it to move. But when you have a larger float like this, you're going to and you get these outsized moves, it's usually a little something else. And I think in this case, it's the high short interest. Company will need to raise cash though, because as you also pointed out, they have about a quarter left.
Yep. Okay. That pretty much did. Do you have any other movers that you want to go over here? I did notice that XCur was on here. This is a previous girlfriend. This thing has run before. I'll go ahead and cover it here. If you have anything to add, we can. Ticker here is XCUR. Execure shares are trading higher after the company reported year-over-year increase in Q3 PES results. Additionally, the company announced it entered into a purchase agreement for 1.3 million and 8.7 million in equity financing here. That caused the stock to pop above 450. We've retraced 90% of that move here, but it is holding the 65 EMA. Maybe this gets rolling here. The stock, as you recall, fits into our theme of some of these smaller movers here. 1.5 million in the float. It's already traded over the average volume here. So pretty good. Pre-revenue companies, doesn't have a whole lot of money here. But this is what's going on. 13, you got anything on this one?
No, I didn't take a look at that. I was actually going to answer Grouch of Wall Street's question about Generac. So he asked, as databases are built out for AI, who will be their energy backup? And the answer to that question is it could be a lot of different people, and Generac's going to be one of them. They do have modular systems that they are specifically used for data centers, but as we just saw last week with Bloom Energy, also fuel cell generators and batteries are going to be used. You also have diesel generators that are going to be used, and a lot of other lithium battery systems for backup as well. So it's going to be a variety of different things that are going to be used for power backup for data centers, and Generac is going to be among them. But as in terms of like who's going to be the dominant player, I couldn't tell you that. I think it's going to be a number of other companies that are all in the same overall space. So you'll see a variety of diesel generator backups, natural gas, fuel cell, maybe even hydrogen, and then of course your battery backups as well.
Okay, really good stuff. Good morning, Jay Wild. It's great to see you. Manish, good morning. Great to see you as well. Jay, really appreciate you answering the direct question with a direct answer here. No opinion on the fight and Netflix, so looks like you're skipping that here for today. Nvidia, though, did it get the kiss of death Barron's cover? I'm hearing that the cooling story is a rehash of an old article. Would rather have Nvidia sell off a bit into the report that is coming Wednesday. So I'm with you there, Jay. If I'd like to have the sell off a little bit ahead of that report too. I'd be curious to know, would you position yourself for that print using options or stock? Let me know. I'd be curious about that. Tom, really quickly here, 13. Tom also adding here, Blackwell chips run hot. That's why it's liquid cooled. So it's not something new and major disasters are about to happen. Michael Dell from Dell, of course, just said that they have no issues with it. Sorry, 13, get in there.
No problem. It was just going to be regarding the what Jay Rice was talking about with the I was sorry, my mind already just
you got lost. That happens sometimes, especially early in the morning.
But it's okay. It'll come back to me. And
he was talking about the Barron's cover, and he was talking about a rehash of this being an old article.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask Jay Rice. So when you're looking for to cool off, where's your target? Because I'm looking at 133.
I might as well bring this up. Look, NVIDIA is going to get talked about quite a bit here. While we're waiting for Jay, I will say here, some of the targets that I had were going to be some of these levels in here. 124-ish, this area, 123 to 124, that's going to be a major support level. But ahead of that, we actually have the trend line here that we've been above. I've got that at about 136-ish. And then I've got the 50-day right beneath that, 131.63. We're currently beneath the 9-day, which is at 142. Good morning, Lion.
Looks like Qualcomm is going to start to break down out of this channel. I think you may have also drawn the channel.
This was the parallel channel one. Let's see if it's saved. Yep. Bingo.
So two things I'm seeing with this. One, we could lose this channel and start to fall down maybe towards 155. I don't know where the fall is going to end up at. Maybe even under 150. But I saw that in an 13F filing that Tiger Global had decreased their stake in Qualcomm. So some people not necessarily making for the exit, but at least they're grabbing their hats. So seems like there's a little bit of reduction in stake in some of these semi names still.
One thing to note, Qualcomm here, this is actually up 1.125% here. So far it's hanging on to this. You know what I'm going to do, 13, is I'm actually going to extend this channel out a little bit, and we'll see if we do break out or even break out and back into that channel. Really good stuff here on QCOM. Okay, real quickly here, Jay Rice doesn't do targets, so go stuff it, 13. That's pretty much what he said. Jay Rice, Ryan, I'd rather play NVIDIA through Broadcom, ticker AVGO, Micron, ticker MU, or ALAB, ticker ALAB. They all came down a lot. So that's a really good answer. I was asking Jay, just to kind of reiterate, if we do see NVIDIA pull prior to the print, how would you trade that for earnings? Jay giving us the answer here. We'd actually trade some sympathy names instead of the name itself. Good stuff there, Jay. Appreciate that. Stay focused, mentioning here, Ryan, the fight you didn't talk about was the John Jones fight. That was an amazing event. You're right, stay focused. I actually did not watch this UFC event. One of my buddies who follows UFC, he said it was, confirming what you were saying, said it was awesome. John Jones was one of the best of all time. And of course, what we did talk about, John Jones personally thanked President Trump and then did the Trump dance in the ring. That was pretty sweet as well. The comments from Dana White afterwards were interesting as well. But glad you enjoyed it. Stay focused. What are you looking to trade here right out of the gate? I know you like to hit a lot of those things. So I'd be curious to know what you're looking at here. Yeah.
Pianogenesis is asking about CYBN, and they
Sure.
had some news this morning, and I'm a little surprised that it's not up higher. I wonder why that is. Maybe because the float's almost 200 million. That's probably it.
Okay, well, that was a very quick question and answer right there.
But yeah, so the news is that they reported positive phase 2 data for their CYB003 demonstrating breakthrough in 12-month efficacy in treating major depressive disorder. So this is a depression treatment, and that that's a big issue for a lot of folks worldwide. The float, unfortunately, is over almost 200 million shares. So this is very, very heavy. There's no real short squeeze potential happening here, so we can't rely on that. What do the fundamentals look like? This company looks like they bring in nothing. They do have a lot of cash on the balance sheet. They have 180, a little more than 183 million shares. I'm sorry, $1 million in cash, but no income. They lose anywhere between 10 to 30 million dollars a quarter.
Interestingly enough, Canaccord has a recent price target. This is from November 14th of this year. Has an $86 price target on the stock. Stock's $13 right now. $13 right now. This is I'm Pianogenesis. I'm glad that you brought this one up. It's actually also sitting right here. Actually, no, this popped above now with the move here this morning. We're actually just shy of that. So this is interesting. This is a reclaim of this 200-day here today with the pop. I would be curious where the stock closes. Keep an eye on this one today.
Also, you read a little bit further into last week. They said they were going to present this phase 2 data today, but they also last week said that they started a phase 3 pivotal trial evaluating that very same drug. So they have a couple of different trials going on with this thing. So this is pretty far along. And if these results are as promising as, I haven't read into it, but if these results are as promising as the headlines say they are, this could be probably one of the newest and maybe more effective treatments for depression.
Okay. Real good stuff there. I appreciate you bringing this one up. We're going to cover Zim here because we were asked nicely about that earlier. So we're going to do that next. But just really quickly, bonjour, Smoke Tuna. Glad that you were here. We were just talking about you. Great to see you here. Stay focused. Appreciate the direct answer to the direct question. I'm on the fence on several plays. I will be patient out of the open and wait for setups. I am so glad to hear you say that because that was exactly what I told the group early on here, especially when it comes to things like Nvidia and Netflix, which have news here. I too am going to do the same thing. I want to see what the opening print holds. I'm not looking to be a hero right out of the open. Good stuff there. Stay focused. Okay. Here's Zim. So I think I can't remember the question. It's buried up there. I think we were talking about this being a $24, $25 breakout level here. We did end up breaking out for that. Stock's still currently sitting here at about $27. Looking like this is going to trade even higher here today. We do have earnings in 2 days. Remember, this stock pays a humongous kind of is it a special? It's just a regular dividend based on their profits.
Yes, it's a dividend based on their profits, and those profits are based upon the rates. So those contracts are negotiated well, and so all the income they're getting now are based upon rates that were negotiated in the earlier quarters of this year or late last year. But I think what one of the reasons why it's moving is we have the whole Red Sea conflict, Houthi rebels firing rockets at ships and whatnot. The thought on why this is moving for me is when we just got the Biden administration giving the okay to use ATACMS long-range missiles in Russia, and usually what Putin had said, if that were to escalate, even though he's been bringing Chinese mercenaries and North Korean troops into the whole conflict, that he would potentially start sending similar capable weapons to adversaries of ours in point, like the Houthi rebels. So that is at least where I think we're getting some of this movement from, is a continued escalation of that region that leads to shipping rates staying higher for longer. If there's anything else that's going on with this, If it's technical, then I'm not sure what the reason is. But if we're going to look for some upside, I think 29.50 might be the next resistance area in the on the daily chart.
Okay. Really good stuff there.
And
really
we're about
good
to
stuff
open
there.
too. We have about 45 seconds.
Daniel, we appreciate it. You know what? You're going to get a 1-up just for that because it is priceless. We have the best community out there. All right, we are about to open here. Let me flip over to the main workspace. Giddy up. Happy Monday. Let's see what we can do here today.
Yeah, and great mention, Robert. T-Mobile was also hacked over the weekend. This was also
that's right.
AT&T and Verizon were hit not this weekend, but previously. This is, you may have remembered the headlines from that. So now T-Mobile is also been hit. Doesn't look like it's affecting their stock too adversely right now, but certainly not rallying. Anyway,
okay,
5 seconds. Here we go.
And we're off.
All right, out of the gate, we have UAVS. Well, that UAVS that hit 450, and or is this? There we go. No, that hit 480. I'm sorry, my chart wasn't updating. All right, so we're trying to push up higher on UAVS, and there we go. RGNX that went down, trying to rebound. Same with SINT, NIBF, kind of sideways right now. Somebody mentioned Rocket Lab. That was trying to push up to 20. A couple of nasty wicks here at the just before the open and at the open. See if it can hold VWAP. What's Bitcoin doing out of the gate here? That is above 90. Sorry.
UAVS continuing to trade higher here.
Over 5 now. Let's see where this is going. All right. Levels for UAVS. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say UAVS. I had it printing 520. Let's see, 522 is your intraday high here on UAVS. I got multiple feeds opened up and they're jumping around a little bit here. So glad I waited out of the open here. This is first move here up on volume UAVS. Tesla, I'm hearing Tesla, a big red bar right out of the open on Tesla. So that's pulling back here. Let's see where that ends up holding on Tesla. Seeing a number of penny stocks here on the relative volume scanner. ACRS, we didn't talk about this one, but this kind of broke out and is going higher here. AMD getting a mention for some strength here today, although that's kind of pulled over.
Yeah, I don't know how much we're going to get out of UAVS. I mean, it could do all kinds of things, but let's see if it can get past 575. I guess that would be the next upside resistance level that I have. 575 in UAVS.
First move here on the market. SPY rolling over here right out of the open. So SPY looking to print lower.
Rocket Lab is getting a good push now, trying to break out of the pre-market highs. Here we go.
Oh, yeah. Rocket Lab above 20. Here we go.
Let me see.
UAVS pulling back to VWAP.
Let's see if there's any news in Rocket Lab. Just price target raises, it looks like. Morgan Stanley raises it to 18. Citi raises it to 22. Thinking about it says RCAT is going.
Well, you know what? I wanted to take a look at RCAT. We did kind of run out of time here this morning, so might as well do that here. RCAT is trading up here, 520. RCAT looking to take out the pre-market high.
It just did. Nice call. Next one would be 546. Really good mention. And IVF, this one's still probably coming down. Maybe find some support around. Nah, it's under $1.
XCur looked like that made a pop back to its VWAP on XCur.
SINT trying to turn around after finding support from the 200 EMA on the 5-minute. Looks like there's a wall at 285. RGNX, this thing has not turned green yet, but has a little bottom of wick there, so trying to turn around.
UAVS, this little dip and rip there. See if that sets up for a better trade on UAVS. A little bit of a scalp there, but not great. See what else. HCWB is getting mentioned. Let's take a look at that here real quick. HCW Biologics, $1. This actually did push away from the VWAP, going a little bit higher here in the pre-market. Looks like it's trying to break out of that sideways range.
Super microcomputer getting a mention that it is going higher. It's back over 20. Let me take a look at the daily chart.
Netflix
I did see
pull right out of the open here,
as it should. I saw that Super Micro over the weekend. I believe it was the CEO. They had mentioned that they were going to announce a plan for not getting delisted.
Yes, in fact, that was on the news here for this morning. Stock was up 12.5% in the pre-market after plans to submit compliance to NASDAQ.
Yeah. So here's what the plan to me is probably going to end up being. They're going to file an appeal. That's the plan.
Okay.
They're going to file an appeal.
Seems like you need a little bit more than that for it to be a really good plan, but we'll go with it.
Yeah, but that's probably what the plan is.
I'm with you, 13.
The plan needs to be report your darn earnings.
Yeah.
But the
Don't
plan
cut
is
the
going to
books
be
and report earnings as a public company needs to be what the plan is. Absolutely.
Yeah. The plan is going to be just to appeal that, and they're going to ask for an extension, and they're going to they might get it, but they have to demonstrate that they're going to be able to report on time. So this depends on how that goes.
Palantir dipping here out of the open. This actually starting to accelerate to the downside. Getting asked here, is there any news on Palantir? Nothing really notable yet. This has been on a huge run recently. So frankly, a pullback here would be healthy for another long side move. We gave you some levels earlier today. Let me go back to that here real quick, though. Palantir. One of the levels that we're talking about how extended this was from the 200-day moving average. Honestly, really like this to pull back to this 58 level. We'll see what happens there. RSI is totally overcooked. So if this even came into 50, I'd be happy with that. No position here. We've been long this since the high 20s. Just kind of waiting it out. No new news here on Palantir. I'm going to blow my nose, 13. I'll be right back.
No, great job, Anthony, on making money. Love to see it. Also regarding SMCI, and we talked about this quite a bit, that gap that was created from May 24th to the 25th, we talked a lot about how that gap filling could be a reversing point, and it could trade back up. Now, I don't think we're going to absolutely go back on to make new highs from here, but we did discuss how this gap fill would be a potential bounce area, and lo and behold, that's exactly what had happened. We didn't quite fill it all the way. We got to the Friday, May 19th high at the very least, but didn't. We talked about how this could be a potential bounce area here. Certainly seems to have been the case. We continue to move up here. I would say we'd go no further than 30.
Which stock was that on? Sorry, I stepped away.
That's SMCI.
SMCI. Real quick here. Great mention by our chat. Crow. Looks like Euro. T-Kid, Seahorse, you guys are all over this. FATE, ticker FATE. Halted to the upside here, 345. We've actually been pretty good with some of these halt fest stocks that we've been talking about. FATE, maybe that's the new one here for today. Halted to the upside here.
All right, searching for targets. By the way,
13's like, say less. I will find some more.
I got it.
Targets here. Your fate is sealed.
Yeah, right. So yeah, also the news on this is that they presented 6-month follow-up data on the first patient treated in phase 1 autoimmunity study. As far as levels where this could go outside of the halt, this thing's likely going to $4.
ACRS, this spiking here, good mention earlier. Sorry we missed this anagenesis, but this was a good one. Someone mentioned this earlier, I think, and I didn't cover it. That's my own fault. I apologize.
I don't know how much FATE's going to run, but here are a couple of targets to watch for. $4 even, and after that, $5.30.
Okay, we'll see what happens when this opens here. Bloom Energy, by the way, we talked about that last week. This actually trying to go higher here. Ticker BE, Bloom Energy. Ja, good morning. It's great to see you again here. You're mentioning Rocket Lab, ticker RKLB. That popped out of the open here, came back down to VWAP and is holding there. Watch a 20 cross here, Rocket Lab.
Yep, they got a couple of price targets. So I would think that if this is going to try and go for those price targets, remember 22 is the highest one it got. So there's not a whole lot of room left to go. And this thing is overvalued. I believe over a period of time, this will eventually grow into its valuation. But right now, at earning $100 million a quarter, it's still trying to get off the ground. But it has a lot of really interesting things going on, and they exclusively launch satellites for the U.S. government out of Virginia at their launch complex too.
UAVS. This actually might watch this. We'll keep. I'm gonna stay away from this one until this really kind of reflirts with 5. I feel like we pushed up right out of the open. We had a really great pre-market run. Now it looks like we're pulling here. Yeah, pull back to the VWAP now. That's going to be 444. 428 is going to be your 65 EMA if we continue to pull here. I'm going to wait this one out. Maybe we get a bounce here, but UAVS. That's pulling here. Buffalo by Bicycle mentioning Uber here. Uber and Lyft. Uber down 4.5% here. This likely on the Tesla news.
I think there was also a 13F filing that showed that same company that reduced their stake in Qualcomm also reduced their stake in Uber.
Okay, there you go. Tesla stock response.
Great.
Yeah. Okay.
Great mention of Bloom Energy. I took a little bit of that one, and it broke out from the pre-market highs. That was an excellent mention there, Ryan, on Bloom Energy.
I'll take that early on here. Nice job, 13. Okay, let's see. Thoughts on Wolf? We haven't looked at Wolf. I'll look at that now here real quick. Still waiting for Fate to open up. Oh, nope, it did open. Sorry. Here, I'll go back to Wolf in a sec. Fate opened and immediately pulled. We're right back here at the VWAP 298. So pretty much deleted half of that pump on the way up there on Fate.
Yep, jumped up to 350, came right back in. Now it's getting support from VWAP. Let's see what happens here. This it might bounce around between 350 and VWAP for a little bit before it chooses a direction. Hopefully that direction's up, and if it is, $4 would be the target we're looking for.
Okay, Netflix here pulled a little bit out of the open, but hasn't really done much since then. We'll check back in on that. Okay, Mark, let me get back here to Wolf real quick. Sorry about the head fake there, but I'm sure you understand. Thoughts on Wolf? Can it bounce, or is it a dog with fleas? Well, if there's a dog with fleas, there's a relatively easy treatment for that. I'll tell you what, though, looking at this, man, I mean, I don't follow this stock. This trend is pretty effing nasty. This is in a downtrend since 2022. Something is really going to have to change here for this to turn around. I don't follow. It looks like we got a new CEO. That could be pretty decent. Sometimes that will turn stocks around. Sorry, I don't have enough research on this to give you any type of a decent opinion. It does look to be holding the low from Friday. Maybe the new CEO kind of turns things around here. If you're going to trade this without any other knowledge, everything else notwithstanding here, I would trade this against today's intraday low. If you're going to long here hoping for a bounce, this is absolutely a stop, and don't even look back at it if it breaks 667 to the downside. Veno also halted here to the upside on a little bit of a curl. Sorry, 13, get in there.
No worries. Wolf, so for some reason, this is hated. It has a pretty high short interest. Over half the float's shorted. There's something that went down with this company. I don't know what it is, but something has really got investors down on it. So I couldn't tell you what that is without digging a little bit further. But it seems like they may be facing some challenges here. Looks like they were okay. So their last earnings report, they absolutely missed the consensus. They were the investors were looking for a loss of $1 per share. They lost $2.23 per share. So this is hated very much. It could be a good short at some point. I just don't know when that's going to be.
CCJ here. We traded the huge pop on Friday. This was a great little scalp there off that news headline. CCJ looking to take out the pre-market highs here at 56. If it does that, this should be on watch for another trade here. 56.47 going to be that intraday high print from Friday. Let's see if that ends up going higher here. Just to remind you, that was several of those stocks were up on Friday. Russia had imposed temporary restrictions on the export of enriched uranium. That caused a lot of those stocks to pop there. That's what's going on in CCJ. ARCS, this pulled off the high off that initial move. XCur, this actually tried to go back to the VWAP and reverse. So far holding above its 65 EMA.
JJ, the UAVS float is what was it, 850K? Let me double check that.
I've got
for
that
you.
at 850,000, 13.
Yep.
That's spot on.
Yep. So there's that. VINO, folks, you were saying that is halted the upside, pre-market high 340, and we're down here at 195. So if and great mention too, by the way, because this actually came all the way down to the consolidation from yesterday. I'm sorry, from Friday's price action, and found some support. Now we're trading back up. So next level to get past is going to be like 218, where the 200-day estimate. I'm sorry, 200 EMA is on the 5-minute. But the pre-market high is 340, so let's set our sights on that as well.
Real quickly here, UAVS, this was at its VWAP, started to fall away and find some support at the 65 EMA. Even that now has given way. Lower we go here on UAVS. We really want this to turn around before we try any long side trades here. Let's not try to be a hero here. SINT, this is another one that we covered earlier here today, still at the pre-market low. It tried to bounce once, couldn't get above the VWAP. We'll see if it happens again. 13, I'm sorry if I ran you over there.
It's okay, don't worry. MACD on UAVS, that looks like it's telling us we're going to be going lower before we go higher. So I think that we may start to trade underneath even maybe go slightly beneath 350 on UAVS before we find some support. So if you're short UAVS, you're doing okay for now. If you're long, make a decision on whether or not you want to kind of add to this or not, but be careful if you're going to do that, because you could create more heavier losses if you average into day trades.
Okay, sounds really good. Brian, what's wrong with the sniffles? We've had some pretty crazy weather here, and I spent a majority of my weekend making sure that I hit my exercise targets. This morning I woke up and it was wet and foggy, and when I opened my window, I think I just breathed in a whole bunch of allergens. I feel great though. I'm in for the long haul. Sorry about the sniffles. ACRS, this was a good mention from earlier, the really decent pop there. This has actually come back in and so far held its VWAP. This actually might be setting up for another move higher. We'll see. Fate, that ended up breaking its that $3 level. It did come back to the VWAP here. So I'd watch this in conjunction with the volume. If you get the volume expansion here, here we go. So this is, as we're talking about it, this is starting to move through the VWAP. Watch for this to get the volume expansion. If that starts to happen here, we might have a potential trade on our hands. If I flip over to the 5-minute chart, that doesn't really smooth it out enough. 1 minute's probably going to give you a better idea here. Watch this. The volume really needs to creep up here. Watch this take 3.
Veno is open and is it started to push higher, trying to get over the 200 EMA. Got a question about where is there support in Palantir. If we continue to go lower underneath 60, I like 58.50 for support. All right.
Okay. Fate here is trying to hold on to its VWAP. So we're gonna know really soon here if this is gonna make another move back towards that 350 area. If we break down through the VWAP here, I'd watch the 285 area. I think if that falls, your VWAP potential breakout here is done.
RCAT trying to push back up after getting support from VWAP. It's still not past the intraday high at 544 yet. We're also getting some movement here from VINO after it unhalted, trying to get back up to the pre-market high of 340, currently at 220.
VINO, this is going to be a similar thing here to Fate. Fate looks like it died off at that VWAP there. Let's see if VINO can actually move through the VWAP here. This testing it right now.
I haven't taken a look at the SPY yet. Let me see what we're dealing with here. Kind of flat today compared to the yeah, we're kind of still hanging out about same spot as Friday's close. And to reiterate the pattern that we're watching for here with the SPY that's been kind of repeating. When it breaks out to new all-time highs, it'll consolidate for a little bit, roll over, come back down and find a base. And once it finds a base, it rips up into new all-time highs. So this could be the stage now that we're at where it's trying to find a base.
Veno here is getting a little bit jiggy. Watch these volume bars. It's trying to go through the VWAP here, and I'm actually watching the level 2 here. They're bringing in bids to support it, and they're bringing in offers to kind of suppress it. The offers are getting chewed. Watch VINO here. This might go. Careful with this, though. I'll tell you what, if you're going to trade this, have a plan to the downside before you have a plan to the upside. If this pops, runs, and halts, you're going to have plenty of time to figure out your upside target. Make sure you don't get hit on some type of volatile move here, right around the VWAP. It's trying to figure out where it's going to go.
250 is where it wants to go. It wants to get past that, where that huge wall is. So if we can get enough volume to expand when it gets up to 250 again, it's going to take that out. We might see some fireworks. Palantir certainly is dumping.
Okay, VNIO falling away from the VWAP there. We'll wait to see if this resets here. That was good stuff, though. XCUR, this might have a date with the VWAP and a potential pop above. That's one to watch there. Palantir is dumping. Yeah, we talked about Palantir. Look, don't have my longs on anymore. This is a big move down here, down 9.3%. But honestly, not even upset about that. Watch this area right here. Let's call it 58.59.
No,
right?
58.50.
Okay. So 58.50. So right between 58 and 59. I like that. We'll keep doing that. If it can hold this level here, maybe this will set up. Again, we kind of wanted this. Let me just go ahead. Let me bring it up on the bigger chart here. Oh, it's already there. One of the things we really wanted to see was this RSI cool off. This was 80 plus here this morning. Now we're back into regular territory. Frankly, if this thing trades down, that would be great for us to come up with another long side trade. Go back to some of these movers here. UAVS still flirting with its VWAP and its 65 EMA. This might not be done.
Yeah, an RCAT new intraday high, 545. Looks like it's starting to slow down too.
How was the volume on RCAT? Yeah, volume was pretty good here. This is a good mention. I tell you what, thinking about it, I know it was you and Carmen, I think, that have been on this one. I haven't seen Carmen in a little bit, but it's been a good one. Been a really good one of those micro caps. Like it. SINT getting mentioned here by Crow, former ex-girlfriend. Right back to the VWAP. 2 pops up to the VWAP. Have not taken it out yet. That would be something to watch going forward here. SINT.
And look what else is up there too. If you draw a line to where those 2 wicks go and you look to the left, you see there's a ton of consolidation. We chew through that and break out of 380. This thing's going to fly.
Yep, with you there. Diamond, you're asking me, Ryan, do you mean you are waiting to go long on Palantir? Yes. The reason for that, Diamond, is because we have been long on Palantir from like the high 20s. So this move up to 50, I was actually out, I think like 50 and change on the final tranche of the calls that I had. So I missed the move into the 60s. But yes, at this point, because we have no long side position on, what we're waiting for here, instead of shorting it, instead of trying to jump in front of a momentum train and shorting it, we're actually waiting for this to come back in, tell us where it's going to settle or find some support, and then we'll initiate another long side trade. So at this point now, with gains already taken, I'm just waiting it out. And because we did such a good job trading this one, I got no problem if Palantir comes back in. Long term, I absolutely love the stock. Don't have a long-term position. That's my own fault, which I've highlighted, but this recent move we're able to capture, I'd be looking for maybe a long side add if it comes into some really decent support levels. SINT, watch this VWAP. Watch the VWAP here, SINT.
Oh, is it doing it? That'd be amazing. It's got to break out of that 320. That's where a lot of the orders are. Is Uber a buy? It might be, but I don't know about right now. How where are we at with this one? I mean, I don't want to.
Tried to go. I'm sorry for interrupting you. SINT just tried to go right there and it stopped.
320. It's coming up to it.
I think. Yep. I think you're spot on with that price. 13. Well done. Here we go. Here comes 320. There's big size there.
Yep. It's touching it, but not really chewing it yet.
Oh, I saw him take some of it there. They're trying. See if it's got the strength to go through that.
Yeah, it's chipping, but we need woodchucking.
Yeah, it's chipping, but we need woodchucking. Mike, good morning. It's great to see
Hey,
you.
Mike.
Hopefully you had a great. How did you enjoy the fight, Mike? Okay, they continue to chip at that 320. I actually did see more stock for sale hit the offer. So I think that they might also that they're either refreshing some of the stuff that's been chipped away, or those are new sellers there
Here we
chipping
go.
more of it now,
Here we
chipping a
go.
huge chunk of it. Wood chipper in effect. Nope.
Woodchuck in effect.
Okay, they actually, so this is important. They actually refilled more stock there at 320. Let's see if it's got the strength to hit through that.
Also,
No,
regarding
is he? Look, we got much respect. I know you're kind of new here, Mullen. We have a long history with Mullen here in this channel. I'll go to it here in a sec. I'm just kind of joking around. Still watching this 320 level here, SINT. I am in this trade. If we pop above 320, I'm going to sell into that strength. Stop here at break even $3.
what a fight. This is a better fight than the Tyson Paul fight.
Ha! Well done. Well done. I tell you what, nothing beat that Bills Chiefs game yesterday, though. Ryan was fist pumping on his couch when the Bills won that game.
There were a lot of really good nail biters yesterday. All the way to
Ravens
the
Steelers game was real good. Yeah.
The Chargers Bengals game was pretty good too.
Yep. I actually cashed a parlay on that, which is surprising because I've really struggled with sports betting this year, but I hit that parlay.
I do want to really quick give a thought on Uber. You know, we are getting weakness today. This is not the time, in my opinion, to really be trying to catch a falling knife. It looks like there are some potential levels where it might get some support. I'm not suggesting you buy there. It looks like $67 might be a good support level. If that doesn't hold, then you could be looking at 63. But again, this is coming off of an all-time high here, and we're really starting to lose altitude. This is now down.
And out, sent out. Sorry. I had a high print there, 326. Looks like the fill was at 322. So I only got 2 cents above the level. But another day trade scalp added there. SINT. We'll see what happens here. Sorry for interrupting.
Okay, no, don't worry. There's nothing crucial I'm talking about here right now. But Uber is down over 21% from its all-time high. You might see some bounces as it's already done a couple of times, but I still think this is probably going to end up heading lower. But I give you the levels of where we could see some support. Yes, Mike, I saw that as well. That LabD was flying, and man, should have held, but that was more of a day trade for me on Friday. Bloom Energy also pulling back. Looks like this wants to go back above VWAP and break out of the 2277 high that it made. But it doesn't seem like it's getting the buyers, and the MACD is also indicating that it could roll over.
Real quick, Izzy, here's your Mullen chart. This did, to be fair to you, this did trade up off the pre-market here. Mullen, though, just remember, this is an easy way to lose money. This stock is really kind of been hit since being up here at 73 million. So we have a pretty huge range from 73.9 million all the way down here to 2. I mean, JK, just be very careful with this. Jay Rice has actually put the best trade on a long-term short here on Mullen. Just be careful. Know you're trading trash if you're going to trade it. We got some better stuff there. Britt, good morning. Great to see you here this morning. Hopefully you had a great weekend. What are your guys' thoughts on Carvana, another super high short interest stock that we've traded a lot here today, here on this program. Carvana here, that short interest has really come down, still above 12%. And still 3.8 days to cover. So nothing to shake a stick at yet here, but has really kind of come down. We take a look at the daily chart here. You can really kind of appreciate the movement in Carvana. I have no position on this one. I do like to trade it if we get some action here. But right now, I actually kind of think this could use a pullback. Britt, let me know how you're trading this.
There was another question in here. We ever talk about Nikola? No, we haven't because that company's pretty much garbage. Yes, it is a shit stock. I'll say this though, if they do get some revenue, I think they make like 25 million a quarter, but they lose 10 times that as well. So until we start to see fuel cells and and hydrogen become a very big thing, it's probably going to just continue to be the junky name that it already is.
Really good stuff there. SINT still holding above its VWAP here. Fate is fading, you guys are saying? Its fate is sealed, you might say?
Yeah, it looks like it's
right there.
Looks like this is headed down to 250, maybe lower. We'll see. MACD's indicating that it could roll over as well. Looks like Bloom Energy is trying to push back up.
Ticker BE on Bloom Energy. Oh yeah.
Let's just see if we can get some expanding volume here. 2277 is the intraday high.
Lion, appreciate this mention here. Looks like that uranium move that we talked about earlier here, CCJ, that's continuing. This, we really want to see if this takes out the Friday intraday high. You mentioned CCJ, ticker LEU, much more depressed. And then NXE, Next Gen Energy here. That is over Friday's intraday high. That's nice to see. Uranium is pumping. Good stuff, Lion.
Yeah. I'm just kind of trying to see if there's something that's giving us a setup. Not seeing a whole lot at the moment.
Let's take a look at some of the bigger stocks here and see if those finally shook out. Here's your Netflix. Okay, so interesting. So this is kind of what I was expecting. We did pull out of the open. We didn't quite pull to our pre-market low. Excuse me. Then the buyers stepped in. We're back here just about flat, holding down about 0.5% here on Netflix.
What is
Nvidia is still lower here. That's, remember, the Blackwell chip overheating news from over the weekend, likely pushing this down. Getting mentioned and then attributed to Zunaid. So, of course, we'll take a look at that. Hood popping here.
It looks like Tesla wants to try and break the, get over 360. And if it does, it's probably going to be a pretty good sell because that's going to be very extended if it does that. Okay.
Okay. Let me go ahead and look at Palantir giving us this Palantir move. I'll tell you what, this is, I'm trying to stay as positive as possible. I really think that is a good thing. But folks, it's 10 o'clock. It's Monday morning. You know what that means. It's time for Matt Maley. Let's bring him on. Matt, thanks for joining us. Good morning and happy Monday. Hopefully you're doing well. How did you do with your sports weekend? Did you watch the fight?
Something, I only watched a part of it. The welterweight fight, 2 fights before that fight was unbelievable.
Yes.
One of the best fights I've ever seen. And usually it's like a draw. Draws suck, but no, that was a really good fight. And but yeah, I got halfway through the big one, and I just said, that's enough.
We're with you 100%, Matt. 13 and I were texting each other back and forth during that fight, being like, this is amazing. Pretty incredible there. Actually saw that your Patriots did a pretty decent job trying to come back at the Rams. Or I tell you what, you do have a quarterback in there. I know that team is lacking for talent, but you got your quarterback figured out there. So congrats.
I mean, this guy, he's accurate and he's got some leg. He can run. Yeah, we got a quarterback for the future. It's hard to replace Tom Brady, but he's a good player. So I feel bad for the Bears. Geez, they can't catch a break.
It is what it is. 13's a Packer fan, so we're going to let him smile all day here. It is what it is with the Bears. We need a new coach. Okay.
I was thinking that absolutely opposite the moments before that blocked field goal. My house was filled with expletives. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, that is 2 games in the last 4 weeks that the Chicago Bears quarterback has won, only to have the game be lost by the coach shortly after. Anyway, Matt, getting back to the market here, we did have some Stuff happened over the weekend. Obviously, one of the other things regarding the fight was a lot of the buffering there on Netflix. So far, Netflix about flat here. We also had a headline about the Blackwell GPUs kind of overheating here. That may be weighing on Nvidia. And that's all against the backdrop here of the SPY, which really kind of rolled over from those 600 highs. The way I kind of set this up here for the SPY is so far we're kind of holding on to this area, but boy, oh boy, it feels a little bit shaky. What do you see out there in the market?
Yeah, I mean, last week, there was the amount of euphoria following the election was really extraordinary. And I mean, I understand we get that kind of, especially when they won both houses, when the GOP won both houses of Congress as well. So they figured that Trump's whether it be tax policies, deregulation, whatever, is really going to boost the economy. But it just got a little too euphoric in my mind by midweek. And then so it's like, is this a little pullback here just to take a breather after, to wring out some of that euphoria, or is it going to be something else? And of course, it just didn't happen all of a sudden. I mean, there was a catalyst, and that catalyst was Chairman Powell's comments that the Fed is not going to be cutting rates as aggressively as investors had thought, or as the stock market had been pricing in. And so that could create some problems, especially if we see what happens with Nvidia this week. As you mentioned, this issue with their Blackwell chips. I mean, the stock's down a little bit today, and I doubt it gets really clobbered in front of their earnings report, which of course comes out on Wednesday. But if they start talking about that this Blackwell issue is a little bit bigger problem, or again, nobody's saying, oh my gosh, suddenly Nvidia is going to crash 50% or anything crazy like that. But we always talk about the reaction to its earnings, not how good its earnings are, because the stock has reported great earnings every quarter. The company's reported great earnings every quarter for 2 or 3 years now. But sometimes that positive earnings report has been followed by a sell-off. And if they give any kind of guidance that isn't as rosy as people are hoping for, that pulls back the group. And I guess the big thing that people have to worry about with this issue is that two things. Number one, the chip group is key to the marketplace. If it's already been underperforming lately. If it starts to go down, it's going to be very hard for the rest of the market to hold up. And the other part of it is that everybody's talking about the software stocks. You look at the IGV ETF, the software ETF, and they say, oh, don't worry, people will rotate out of the chip stocks and into the software stocks, and everything will be fine. That sounds good, but the problem is that the chip stocks and the software stocks are very highly correlated. So it's one thing if the chip stocks are kind of lagging, but they're still going up or even moving sideways. Maybe the software stocks can rally. But if Nvidia rolls over and it's the only stock holding up the SMH, okay, the rest of these stocks, Qualcomm, Advanced Micro Devices, Micron, they're way off their July highs. Yeah. And so if the SMH starts going over, the software group is going to follow it lower, and that's going to weigh on the entire market. So this week is going to be incredibly important week. See what happens with the bond market, if those yields remain high, and see what happens with Nvidia. Now, having said all that, I start to ramble on here, but having said all that, if Nvidia can provide a positive spark, maybe we will get that year-end rally that we usually get in presidential election years. However, I'm worried that this stuff will throw a wrench to the works of that scenario, especially since it looks like that the market pulled forward that year-end rally with the big October into early November.
Yeah, spot on there with Nvidia. That really just kind of shows how important this is to this week. And then, as you were mentioning, maybe even the rest of the year here, really quickly regarding that Blackwell thing, or the Blackwell chips overheating, Nvidia actually asked their customers to maybe change the design of the server racks. That doesn't seem normal. They go on to claim that it is normal. Quote, the engineering iterations are normal and expected, end quote. So we'll see what this actually means. I'm with you 100%. It's not so much do they beat the number, but how does the stock trade after the number? Totally agree. We'll see what we get there on Nvidia. That is definitely the biggest story here of the week. Is there anything else this week that you're kind of looking at?
Well, two things. First of all, we watched one of the things last week that we took advantage of with this change in basically. I mean, the Fed has come out and said now, but from the Powell, that we're not going to be as accommodative as the market has been pricing in. We went out and bought some SQQQ calls. and they went up 1,000%. Okay, 1,000% we made on those calls late last week. So we had a great move play there. So if you're interested in come joining our chat room and take advantage of some of those things, just please give Rodrigo a call, and he'll let you know how we can get it to do that. But now that I've dislocated my shoulder, patting myself on the back, I'll say that the one thing we want to look at also is the retailers. Of course, we've got a bunch of retailers reporting this week, including Walmart. The XRT, the retail ETF, has been trading in a sideways range. Yes, the consumer has been doing very, very well, but they've been spending a lot more money on experiences rather than hard goods and stuff. But you were at the top end of that sideways range in the XRT. So if these numbers start to can report some good earnings, maybe this group can finally finally break out to the upside. But I would say, as much as Walmart is an unbelievably great company, it's an unbelievably great management team, it is very overbought. And it is very expensive at 34 times earnings. So if you want to be looking at this group, if it does look to break out and you think, oh my gosh, this is going to rally strongly into the end of the year, look at some other names like Target, and some of these other names that have been lagging. Those are the ones that are actually going to outperform for short-term traders. Long-term people, hold on to Walmart, great company. I love the stock on a long-term basis. But if you look, and in fact, it's not that I look at monthly charts all that much, but its monthly RSI is the most overbought it's been since the late 1990s. So the chances that it will wildly outperform, even if they report good earnings, is something that we need to be careful of. Again, I'm not saying sell the stock. I'm not raising any warning flags. I'm just saying the odds that this will be one that that really takes off in any kind of a retail year-end rally is less likely than it is for some of the laggards. So again, we still got to wait, make sure that we actually get that breakout. But if it does take place, look at some of those other names. They could be something where it gets a little bit of outperformance going into the end of the year.
Okay, and really quickly here, Walmart reporting earnings tomorrow morning ahead of the market open. You had mentioned retail there. I can't let you go without asking you about my favorite stock, my favorite retailer, Costco, ticker COST. This has been on a pretty nice run recently. What do you think about Costco here, given the backdrop of retail you just laid out for us?
Well, I mean, it's like Walmart. It's a great company. It is a little overbought, nowhere near as overbought as Walmart. Sure. So we need to be a little bit careful on a short-term basis. But if that's a core holding for you, you definitely want to hold on to it. If it's not a core holding for you, you should nibble at it here and buy it on any kind of add to it any kind of dip. Again, the stock is expensive, but again, if we get a big change in terms of the economy or the markets, where everybody's suddenly worried about nobody's looking for a recession anymore, and maybe that's a good reason for that. However, if we do get a big surprise, the stocks like Walmart and Costco, they're going to do very well if the economy turns down. So I love this stock on a long-term basis.
Okay, I have a question. I have a question for you regarding some of the data we're going to be getting this week. It's mostly surrounding housing, lots of building permit data, mortgage data, home sales. Are you looking at anything in that sector? It seems to me like some of these builders are really starting to roll over on not so great earnings. I was wondering if there's anything you're watching for in terms of that.
Yeah, and also it's funny because the price of lumber has moved up real strongly lately because of and a lot of people have been saying, well, that's a real good indication for these home builds, but that is even starting to roll over a little bit. And of course, the high level of interest rates, it looks like they're going to stay higher. These long-term interest rates, that means mortgage rates are going to stay higher. That's tough for the home builders. So if you're looking for a good play on the negative side, if you're looking to buy some puts in certain area, you want to look at some of these like Toll Brothers and some of these other home builders, because they do look like they're ripe for a decent sized pullback in the weeks ahead.
Thank you.
All right, really, really good stuff here. As mentioned, if you want to trade along with Matt and get all of his crispy calls, like the 1000% SQQQ runner, I went ahead and put a link for the webinar in the chat. Be sure to check that out. We'll put you in contact with Rodrigo. Matt, thanks so much for your time here. Have a great rest of your week. We'll check in with you next week, all right?
Sounds great. Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Take care. That is Matt Maley, the one and only. We're so lucky to have him here. Really awesome stuff. Did you take any of those SQQQ trades yesterday? Or last week? What a monster move that was.
Oh, not the ones that he's talking about. That was a wonderful move. I'm just at this point kind of wondering why I didn't hold on to BE just a little bit longer into that pop. That was a really good mention that you had here on Bloom Energy moving, and we got some price targets. It bull flagged here, and then as soon as Matt came on, we broke out of that bull flag to 23.38, the current high on the daily. On the intraday chart here for Bloom Energy.
There you go. Glad someone hit it there. I was flipping around. I did hit SINT earlier, which, by the way, looks like it may be back on here. SINT, we are above the VWAP here. Crow, I saw that you were calling that this is going, got a little bit of a head fake there, trying to break out that 320 area that we were looking for earlier. I now have the high print of the day at 328. That is going to be your upside spot. Maybe 325 to 328, that resistance level. We'll see if SINT is strong enough to break that here. HCWB getting called here. This is $1 holding right above the VWAP. Maybe this ends up rolling here. We'll see.
Wolf, after the open shook everybody out, this thing is now looking for the pre-market highs of 716. We're at 710 right now.
There you go. Wolf, remember, this was that big move down. We've retraced about 50% of that Friday negative move here. We'll see if Wolf can continue to be in there. OKLO getting called in here. OKLO on a big reversal. Awesome stuff here. Parker's Thinkorswim indicator mentioning OKLO. I want to remind you, for those of you that did not join us in the early session, let me throw the tweet in that I found over the weekend. Important here for OKLO. Trump's new Energy Department Secretary, Chris Wright, is on the board of directors at OKLO here. So we are seeing a reversal here. It's a nice move off 18 there, but keep in mind, this now has a Trump tie to it. Ticker OKLO.
To OKLO, I think the big question for me is going to be what happens at 2250. If you want to draw a line right there, so that you can see the price action, we've been getting from October around that 2250 line. I think that's going to be the spot that needs to really get over for continued upside. It seems like you see what if you go to
horizontal. I was going back to my bigger chart here, but I can go ahead and add it. You're talking 2250 horizontal line, right?
Yes, sir.
Boop. There we go.
And if you go to a daily chart, you'll see how that's
been
a pretty important support and resistance area.
Really good stuff there. OKLO, good mention. Good mention. Tesla getting mentioned here by Jay. Tesla's kind of been all over the place here. It's also likely why Lyft and Uber are a little bit lower. Tesla trying to trade back into and then maybe out of that pre-market range here. High there, 350. Watch that on Tesla here. Watch that 350 spot if we can break out from that.
MSTR ripping.
What's Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin here back above 91K on the futures chart. Here is MSTR, affectionately called Mister by some of us.
Oh, what's going on with Spirit Airlines? They're halted.
Spirit Airlines is halted because they filed for bankruptcy protection. That should have been halted from this morning. It still is halted here from this morning. So that's what's going on.
Yep. Okay. So I want to cut this, secure 300. Okay. So that sucks for Spirit.
You're no longer going to see Spirit in the sky, huh?
Well, I certainly won't be stepping into it.
Cue the song. Cue the song.
Hey, those of you that mentioned PULM this morning, well done.
PULM. Okay, so this was a recent halt. Yeah, this was from Thursday. This is a big winner on a halt fest here on Thursday. This moving higher here. Real quickly here, Paradise Pharaoh from our Twitch viewers. As a reminder, we do YouTube, X, and Twitch. We're always here for your streaming needs. Does anyone know why PLTR got bearish? Yes, we do, because this thing was absolutely moving to the moon. Again, just to kind of reiterate, I'm going to use Matt's line there to dislocate my shoulder, patting myself on the back. That was awesome. Palantir, we've been long this from the 20s. This has had a huge move recently. To me, honestly, Paradise, this just seems like a regression back to the mean. So far, so good. It has done a really good job holding this 59, 58 area. That's what we'd want to see here. This kind of just resetting the RSI. No new news here. Nothing really to panic about. This just seems like normal trading action. Ticker PLTR Palantir.
We had 58.50 as the support area, and today we got as low as 58.85. So 35 cents away. I'll have to tighten that up. Sorry, folks.
13's got them jokes, and we appreciate that as always. Ashu here saying Spirit will be in the sky. Cue that song up. That's likely to be stuck in your head all day today. There's an email from their CEO that I just received. Spill the beans. What does the email say? I'm not on Spirit's email list, so I cannot report that for you, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be jumping on any one of their planes while they're going through bankruptcy. By the way, Bloom Energy, this thing is just not stopping yet. The 23.54 now the current high. That was a great mention.
I'll take it.
Mention of the day.
Okay. Hey, sometimes I do that. Broken clock is right twice a day. So sometimes we can hit it here. Tesla kind of slowing down, just looking across. Netflix. So, okay. So the short here out of the open, yeah, that didn't really work. We did pull a little bit here. Buyers step back in. Netflix now green, up by about 1%.
Okay.
Up by about 1%.
How low do we go? Or how low do we get? 809.33. Okay. I expect more pull from this. I mean, we're still really extended up here.
HCWB getting another mention here. Crow, you are on it. This is pushing away from the VWAP. Interestingly enough, the VWAP and the 65 EMA have converged here right at $1. So you're getting the trifecta there. Two indicators plus the round hole number here. Stock pushing away. 120 would be your breakout spot to the upside.
Thoughts on TCBP? This is a penny stock. It's trading right now at 62 cents. See that they had a passive stake on Thursday. It's 5%, so not really that big of a stake. Pretty heavily shorted, but almost no days to cover because the float is very low. It's less than 500,000 shares in the float. The only thought I would have is, find out what they have in the pipeline and when they expect to announce some results, because I don't think this is going to be moving on a whole lot of anything else. It's either going to be they got funding to continue with their trials, or they announce the results of a trial. That would be my guess on this one. So it's really going to be catalyst driven at this point, in my opinion.
Wolf here, for those of you that are trading Wolf, I do see some calls are getting bought here. It's like a 200K sweep of almost 2,500 contracts here. Expires January, the monthly contract, January 2025. Those are going to be 9 calls here on Wolf. So some aggressive, unusual option activity here. Ticker WOLF. Thank you, Benzinga Pro.
Yeah.
RCAT getting mentioned here. I'll bring that up. Go ahead, 13.
No, I was just saying, Wolf, we hit that 716 pre-market high. We're coming back in a little bit. If we are able to hold above 7 and maybe go sideways a little bit, we could end up coming back up and breaking through that. But I think we would need to hold 7. So let's see if we get that. Archer's having a not so bad day either.
Okay, it looks like January calls for Tesla, the 550 and the 500 getting bought. I almost wonder if that was part of a spread.
Yeah, RCAT 550, that was great. Bloom Energy approaching 24.
Man, oh man. So we did have some pretty good breakouts here.
Sure did. Looks like Carvana with a hot intraday high of 246.83 cents. That is now beneath VWAP and looking like it's going to trade lower.
That's Carvana. That's Brit's Carvana. Brit, how you doing on Carvana if you're still trading that one? Curious. Real quickly here, RCAT. There was no fresh RCAT news here today, Fibers. Sideshow mentioning here you got a press conference tomorrow afternoon on RCAT. Here's your daily chart on Carvana. You know what's interesting here, 13? We kind of got a nasty. I talk a lot about the floating island trade here, and I think we did talk about that here on Carvana. The candle that pulled us back to the bottom end of the island was so ferocious and on volume that it didn't really feel great about it. It actually went lower the day after before kind of returning here. We're still in this range. So I'd be watching here for maybe resolution of this kind of area that we're in here. Do we break down from this area? Do we break out from this area? My price targets will depend based on what we're doing here, but this is kind of what I'm watching for here on Carvana. I would imagine if we lose 235, we probably have the potential to go to 211. HCWB is halted. Okay, that Crow.
I'll find some levels on that one in a second here. I'm looking at RCAT, and one of the reasons why I think this is moving is because we also got that news from the UAVS, and this is also a drone play, but also mostly because of the announcement that they're going to have a town hall meeting for investors tomorrow. One thing to note is that they also filed for a $100 million mixed securities shelf, so that could complete this week. That's something to watch for.
Good stuff there on RCAT. Apple at highs, Netflix at highs, Costco at highs, Amazon, which we talked about earlier with Jeff Bezos kind of being out of the way here, not selling anymore at 200, at least for the time being. Amazon relatively flat here, hasn't done a whole lot today.
He sold more over 200.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
There was news about that, him pretty much being done. We talked about that. Looks like he's pretty much being done here. Here are those sells, by the way, just to kind of put a button on this 13, 205.5, 207.80, and 207.99 were those sales that were above 200.
HCWB. There's a lot of consolidation areas that this still has to go through. So it might have a time getting up to $2, but if it does, I see 218 as a potential upside target for HCWB.
Yeah, and regarding Amazon, that was the other thing. Thank you, Izzy, for reminding me. I covered that here this morning, but I didn't mention it here. You were mentioning that his ex-wife, that's Mackenzie, she was selling stuff. We don't know what her plan is. But I would imagine it's just not as big as his. But in any case, that was a good mention there. BE continuing to go higher here. SINT holding above. Oh, let me turn the VWAP back on. Holding above the 65 EMA. 13. I'm going to step away for just 1 sec. I'll BRB.
Okay. No problem. The thing with SINT is that pre-market consolidation from after it run in the after hours on Friday. So this consolidation here is where the price has been getting rejected. That's going to be the area that it needs to chew through. So if we can start closing above 340, that'd be very good. And I can also see there's a good amount of sellers between 310 and 330. So there they all are. They get through those. This thing's going. They're going back up to the pre-market highs of 380. His wife sold to, Upstart says Tom B, UPST. Let's see what that's doing. Up 5% right now. I don't see any news. There's something on Friday, maybe. Looks like it might be. I'd have to read through this and see what that is. But it looks like that Form 144 may have something to do with the movement today. Not sure. Also, this is heavily shorted. This is also probably squeezing. 28% of the float is shorted with 4 days to cover. So a little small on the days to cover side, but still very squeezy.
Which stock?
This is UPST.
Upstart. All right. UPST.
There's that breakout in Wolf. 720 is now the new intraday high. It broke over the pre-market highs.
Good morning, Chris. Hockey tomorrow? Got a big hockey match tomorrow? Let me know.
Webcoin saying Synth the catalyst is nothing special. Yes, because we're talking about $500,000 over the several quarters that they're going to be spending on buying stocks back, and their stock is already their float's already under 1 million. So I agree that it's not that big of a deal. It's a great headline to get it moving, but nothing really there.
INOD, nice little move back here. This was after that. Watch for INOD maybe to go higher here. Break a 47. I think we probably test 50 and above on INOD. No position on INOD. Just kind of looking at that one. NXC, this got mentioned earlier. That's resolving higher. This is actually crossing its VWAP as we're talking on volume, by the way. NXC. OKLO calls getting bought here. We talked about that reversal and board of director being part of the Trump cabinet now.
Bitcoin moving on RFK, saying it's a currency of freedom.
That was over the weekend, I believe.
Is that over the weekend? Okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
I did not see that headline.
Netflix at the highs here. So Netflix really kind of shaking off the stream issues.
So interesting that Ford is rallying today after the U.S. is calling for opening two investigations into Ford recalls.
HCWB open. Looks like it's not going higher, at least not yet.
It popped higher. It went to 149, but it came right back in. Like
just kind of hold it in here.
That's breaking out of the pre-market highs, so it did go higher. But let's see what happens here. It might just try to find a direction. Wolf, by the way, that's now also going higher. 723, the current intraday high.
Good mention on Wolf, whoever brought this one to the group.
Mm-hmm.
Great stuff here today.
And also on the PULM too. That was that was a good one.
Great stuff by our group here. Be sure to smash up the like for 13 and I. We're doing the best we can to get you prepared for the market, give you live market call outs too. Doing the best we can.
Oh,
SPY is free too.
SPY certainly trying to push up now.
Real quick, I like this story. Sideshow T. My son bought his first stock. How old's your son? 1,000 RCAT shares at 271. The dad in me is saying that's a hell of a first win. The 18-year-old, I guess I should have kept reading. The 18-year-old kid screaming, "Let it ride, Dad!" To learn something either way. Tell you what, that's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Now, just judging by that price was 271 that he bought that at. RCAT up here 545. You're almost 100% gain there. So might be time to talk about selling half. Maybe teach him that lesson. Give him a couple lessons there. Really good stuff. Glad you guys are winning, and glad you're getting young people involved in finance and markets. I think that's always a win across the board.
Financial literacy is a big thing here.
Amen to that, 13. Amen.
All right, so we are getting some real big upside movement in the market here. Not sure if there's a specific catalyst that's pushing this up, or if we're just, going.
I do see SPY kind of trading up here. Yeah, I don't really see anything new here, print wise or anything like that. Let's see what the Twitter streets have to say.
We're halted to the downside in HCWB. Kind of just waiting for some of these to choose a direction here, like UAVS, SINT. Those are going sideways. MSTR, this is trying to get over 360. FATE, trying to recapture VWAP. Here we go. Archer just had a breakout. Got over 425, and that is trying to move higher now.
Here is Archer. All right. Nice call there. Sorry, I had that.
No worries.
Had that off the screen there.
Just a little slow is all.
Wow. Some non-market news here. Breaking news. The Giants, the New York Football Giants, are benching Daniel Jones. moving on from him with their 2-8 record.
Yeah, it seemed like they needed to move on from him. He just wasn't getting done.
And they paid him instead of Saquon Barkley. That move doesn't look great. Real quick. Good morning, Amanda. Amanda, one thing I wanted to ask you real quick. I know that you have been involved with coding and all of that stuff. One of the things that I heard from the NVIDIA report today, or excuse me, the newsprint, is that NVIDIA were asking customers to change the design of their server racks. They went and called that normal. Have you heard or seen anything about that in your professional career? Just kind of wondering. No wrong answers there.
I mean, if airflow or a configuration is causing a heat buildup, then they would have to change that. FATE, by the way, also pushing up over VWAP.
We want to see a break above VWAP here. Root was getting mentioned here. Jay Rice, I know you mentioned Root earlier. Crow here calling for this to go to 100. This has been one of the more wild stocks we've watched on this program here. Root continuing to trade up here. I'll tell you what, that $100 level that you just gave, that does seem like that is in play here on Root.
SINT, this is dropping now.
Let me go back to SINT. I'll pull that up here before I start reading some of these comments. These comments are gold, though. You folks you guys are making this Monday morning absolutely awesome. Real quickly, Ryan, I'm done with the Giants. Full-on Bills fan. You picked the right New York team because the Buffalo Bills. I think it's going to be a Bills-Lions Super Bowl. Yeah. I think Tom's with me on that. I'm all for that. We
got to send you through a table first, dude.
Oh God, dude, let me tell you something. Stay focused is fit. All right. So
I'm not saying he couldn't handle it.
To go through that table, that would be pay-per-view. That would be good.
I'm not saying he couldn't handle. I'm saying the initiation.
No, look, the table does not stand a chance. Let's put it that way. Real quickly, I was asking about the server racks there. Robert, I appreciate this answer. I've seen something similar. Sometimes there are specific rack requirements. So is this a fairly easy change for the customers to make then? I hear something like, hey, change the way you do things. That generally scares me off, but this is actually pretty good here. Amanda saying that's more of a mechanical issue. They're either experiencing temperature issues or NVIDIA wants to change the footprint of future products. It's definitely temp issues. They've said that so far. That's interesting, though. Really interesting.
Yeah, some configurations of these server racks just have a tendency to trap heat better, which is not what they want. So if those chips are getting too hot too quick, then that's likely for one of the reasons they need to.
Brian Jones with the stat of the day. Jake Paul has won more at AT&T Stadium than the Cowboys. LOL, that's funny. Ryan Atlas here. Ryan, talking about young people. My kid's 11 years old, and when I open a trading account for him on Stockpile and teach him how to buy and sell, that's awesome. Get him involved young. Ryan, you've been doing this for a while. You're really sharp at that. Amanda, that's fine that you do that. My 16-year-old's Christmas list. I don't know what that means. I
think you said she's saying
the fact that your 16-year-old is asking for more SPY is one of the coolest things that I've heard in a while. So props. And in fact, Chewbacca roar for that.
Likely it'll be higher in 30 years, so he'll be just fine. It's just one of those things, like, where was this 30 years ago? And look at it today. I mean, look at it 5 years ago. Hell, this thing has been on an exponential run.
Stay focused. Stay focused is spicy today. He's out here with the daggers. They did put the kibosh. So I actually heard, you want an interesting rumor? I'm not trying to start shit here, but if it starts something, so be it. I was reading on the internet yesterday, and if it comes from the internet, it's got to be true. I was reading on the internet yesterday that the NFL actually consulted with Taylor Swift this year to schedule Chiefs games. And she ended up not showing up to one of the games yesterday. You tell me if that's true. All of that stuff aside, glad the Bills.
Billionaire doing billionaire things.
I I mean, I'm joking pretty much anyway. Real quickly here, check in on some of the stocks. By the way, SPY still pushing to the upside. We'll check back in on that here in a sec. UAVS still holding below the VWAP. HCWB, which got mentioned by Crow into that halt, that's pulled off the halt, but has not broken down. So maybe don't pull it off the watch list just yet. Volume looks good, so this might still be in play later. Veno, this was kind of a disappointment today. We had that one move up to the VWAP, and it came back in, didn't really do anything. Fuel cell, which we didn't really actively look at, volume a little bit low here, but price action really, really encouraging. Also wanted to check in on RCAT here again. I know a lot of people are trading RCAT. Looks like 560 resistance there on RCAT. Bloom Energy, one of the bigger winners of the day, look like some new highs here, a possible 24 breakout.
Yeah. Also, Webcoin mentioning Shot had news. They're expanding their retail footprint with a major grocery chain in the U.S. Southwest. Didn't specifically say which one that was. Not sure if this is rehashed news either, because I thought we got something like that last week. Looks like something similar, but anyway, it's moving on that news. Wolf going as high as 724, coming back in a little bit. HCWB finding some support around 117. Fate fallen down through VWAP now. Looks like UAVS is still trying to go sideways, but and move back up to VWAP, but sideways for the moment. What else?
Yeah, stay focused. I know you've told us that before. I'm so pissed on Bloom Energy. I was on this stock for years. Look, sometimes you can be too early to something. You can be right, but just simply be too early. Sounds like that's what happened here on Bloom Energy. Looking at the daily chart here, this is actually a pop into a pretty decent range. I'd really like to see 30 get cleared out. We'll see if we can do that. But this was a really good pop here today. Bloom Energy up 12.8% here today. Nice little break there too.
Yeah, let's see. Looks like Coin also having a good day too. That was I had a nice reversal.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, with Bitcoin turning around 13, I'm not surprised to hear this on Coin. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that move. Bitcoin here, by the way, just checking in, 92,280 on the futures chart. Let me see if I can get us a reading here on the non-futures ticker. Got this here at 91,800, so just about the same spot. Sorry, 13.
We're coming up to the morning consolidation here, like the early morning consolidation. So between let's call it 91.5 and 92.250. There's some consolidation there. We could see some of the price have a hard time get through it. Maybe even pull back a little bit before it tries to push through it.
Hood, by the way, you guys are talking about Hood. This has been just what a huge move. In fact, you know, one of the things that I want to do here, and this reset all my stuff. You got to be kidding me. Why did you reset my watermark? That's how I look at the ticker. All right, let's take a look here at Hood. I want to do a Fibonacci on this. Look at this move on Hood recently. I'm going to do Fibonacci retracement from this low area right here.
One of the big reasons for this move in Robinhood is because of crypto.
Yeah. Okay. So here are some of the levels here. If Hood comes back in, particular level that I like here is this 25.75. Look at IBIT. Let me go back to the main. I just wanted to get this Fibonacci here on Hood. This thing is for a long side trade here. I'd be waiting for this to kind of pull back in. We did miss the floating island. Did a pretty good job holding that island. You know, 3-point move here. Did kind of miss that one, unfortunately. Let's see. What did Ryan, look at IBIT.
Robinhood with an upgrade. That's another reason why it's moving today. Robinhood was upgraded by Needham.
Yep. And here is your IBIT move. Really awesome breakout. What was this, 40? Yeah, $40 breakout here. This was sick.
Fate not looking great.
Like how that rhymes. Trev Dog could be a firmware fan curve issue specific to vendors. Good idea to run all server hardware at 100% fan speed if it's production. Interesting, Trev Dog. It's going to be on the Blackwell overheating, Blackwell chip overheating news. This is interesting stuff. I appreciate any of this insider industry information, just about how that stuff works in day to day. I really appreciate that.
We call it boots on the ground, and we love it.
Thank you. That's exactly what we call it. And we do love it.
Really strange to see, Vuzix trade like crap in the pre-market and then have days like this. And it's sad too, because I thought that Apple was going to end up picking this company up. They didn't, and they decided to release that ridiculous headset. And now they're not going to be seeing smart glasses as a product until probably like 2027. Behind as usual.
I need more hamsters to power the fans. Got that right, Mike. Got that right.
Okay, so looks like Rocket Lab's trying to come back. It just recaptured BWAP.
So that broke 20 earlier and pulled, but yeah, that $20 level is something to look for.
Also have Archer getting to 431. It's slow moving today, but it's making some moves. It started the pre-market low was 399.
Okay, maybe you guys knew about this. I did not. Seeing this on X, thank you, X. Nvidia SC24 virtual special address. So we talked a lot about Nvidia. We did the Blackwell news. They got their earnings this week on Wednesday. Now you got this virtual special address. This is going to be November 18th, 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. That's 10:30 a.m. Pacific. Join NVIDIA founder and CEO Jensen Huang, NVIDIA VP and GM for Hyperscale and HPC Ian Buck from the Argonne National Laboratory computational science leader, Argonne National Laboratory here in Illinois, by the way. Pretty cool. I've been there. Arvind Ramanathan, hopefully I didn't butcher his name, and King Abdullah University scientist and technology professor of applied mathematics and computational sciences, David Keyes, as they discuss the latest innovations in scientific computing. Part of me wonders if quantum computing will be broached in that discussion. That's today, 1:30 p.m. It's a virtual event. NVIDIA.
I mean, is NVIDIA involved with the quantum computing?
But that I don't know. I don't know the extent of that, and I don't know if that's going to get mentioned. Maybe they throw cold water on that. Maybe they're part of. I don't know. I feel like that could go either way. Yeah,
if they're going to mention something like that, I think they'd mention it like, "Hey, this is not going to be for a little ways away, but we have these AI chips now, and here's what we're doing with them." Yeah. Other names that we've traded previously that are also moving pretty well today are some of those PRISM names, GEO and the cams and tasers that the company uses, or the company manufactures, AXON. Those two companies dropped out of the open and are rallying up.
Smoke Tuna, I really appreciate this. Watch the quantum moves: QBTS, QUBT, and Rigetti RGTI. I'm just speculating, Tuna. I'm thinking, hey, they're going to have this conference. Maybe this is something to watch. Appreciate you bringing these names here. Maybe nothing will happen. But maybe it will. You guys will be prepared because you heard it here first.
Nike getting close.
IONQ added to that too. Yeah. We actually covered Nike earlier today, 13. This was another one that we hit before you got here. News on Nike was just a price target cut from 78 to 73 at Cowen. So the fact that it's moving to 73 right now makes a lot of sense. Stay focused, man. Dude, I know you and I both talked about this short, and I got shaken from it. You had told me, when this rolled over, I missed the rollover on the way through. So did I, dude. But let me tell you something. Our thesis was dead on Nike, and so was our price target, 75 to 77. I hit that easily.
Yeah, I'm still looking for under 71.
Yeah, and 13. The reason for that here is your 71. This is if this continues to roll over here, I think you're on to something here. This is going to be your next spot. JWEL, Joule Group, this popping here.
News? Don't see any recent news.
Yeah, I don't think so. Every time when I see this ticker, I can't help it. It reminds me of the singer Jewel. When I was in high school and junior high, I had the biggest crush on that woman. Oh my goodness. And now every time I see the ticker, it reminds me of it. But
okay, so this could be a potential RFK mover. Gel Global is a cosmetics, health, and nutritional supplements and household products e-commerce platform. So I think the health and nutritional supplements are, I think, the angle here as to why we're getting movement.
okay. That's an interesting theme. If we can find more names in that theme too.
Yeah. So that's just the thought. I don't know why it's moving exactly, but just reading the description and kind of thinking about the themes that we're dealing with right now. One of them being where biotech getting hammered because RFK is now the Health and Human Services Secretary. So whenever I see nutritional supplements, health, things like that, that's part of a company's overall description or mission statement, tend to think that they might have something or a little bit better of a time in this environment with RFK.
Real quickly here, we talked about this also this morning. We talked to Biogen Iodec, ticker BIIB, got a downgrade to hold from Needham. Price target moved to 270. The reason that I mentioned that is because we also saw this huge move here on XBI, as you mentioned, 13 Friday. This thing had a huge candle. This is a big candle for an ETF like this. This actually snapped right through that 200-day. Interestingly, here today, held the low, right? So it traded down a little bit, set a new low here, but we're up off that low. We'll see where XBI goes next here. One level I would be watching, do we reclaim or find resistance at that 200-day? That value there, 94.94, ticker XBI.
Let's take a look here. Just trying to see what we have in here in this ETF, because those are going to be the names that's pulling it down. So you have Insight Corp, Natera, United Therapeutics, Gilead's up in there. It's one of the top fives. Neurocrine. Bunch of names I've never heard of before, by the way. I was looking for some of the bigger names.
Veno here getting mentioned by Smoke Tuna. This actually reclaimed its 65 EMA. This has done a really good job holding this low, this intraday area here, 162-ish. 163. We are curling here. VWAP at 223. So a move back to the VWAP would be a pretty decent scalp. We'll see if we get it there.
Veno.
It's okay to see.
Veno getting a mention by Smoke Tuna. It looks like this one is trying to turn around and come back up to VWAP. I currently have VWAP at just slightly under 205.
Interesting. I've got mine at 223, but nonetheless, yeah, Michael. At least I'm not alone. At least I'm not crazy.
Indices might break lower here. There's Walter Lyons. Which indices? Because it seems like SPY is kind of having a great time.
I'm seeing a post here from Unusual Whales, a great Twitter account you should follow. Mark Cuban said that after investing nearly $20 million in 85 startups on Shark Tank, he's taken a net loss across all of those deals combined.
Okay, so what did he make on the show?
That he did not mention, but those startups there holding some L's. Veno popping literally as we were talking here.
Right to my VWAP. Right to it. Amazing
stuff that it works like that. Just absolutely amazing.
You're searching for Jay Rice asking where's EKS? He found the perfect stock.
Oops.
YPF.
Forward PE of 9. So it's cheap. Where is EKS?
Oh wow, look at this thing run.
Nice little move. Patima Smith. What are all the thumbs up for? We like thumbs up here. We also like likes. Let me know what that's for. You guys were mentioning coin earlier with this Bitcoin move. Coin, this was a sick red to green move here. Coin continuing to move higher.
YPF, what a wild mention this is, because I look at the float, it's 51,000 shares. That's probably the lowest I've ever seen.
Yeah. I wonder if that's accurate. I'll stay away from it. Stay focused here, saying, Ryan, everyone knows he was losing on the Shark Tank show. Look, I just saw the piece of news. Yeah, I'm not trying to rag on Mark Cuban, not trying to get him to hold more L's than he's already holding. I'm just saying. I guess that's why you do it on a show, because the show's pretty successful. It's like 14 seasons or something like that, right?
Should have just changed the name of the show to Troubled Waters.
MSTR also moving here with Bitcoin. Mr. This one at the highs here.
Yeah, it was a really good move in Veno. That one,
I had a really good move in Veno on Friday night. Had a nice bottle pop. It was sweet.
I don't know where how much further Veno is going to go. It's trying to get over the 200 EMA on the 5 minute. It hasn't gone any higher than 250 in the intraday, so might get that high. Could go higher to 340. I don't know. It just depends on if the volume expands here. It looks like it's starting to, but
look at a firm ticker AFRM. Big run here. How are some of those other buy now pay? How's Sezzle doing? That was a humongous winner for us. Sezzle, this kind of holding in here after the Tim Melvin home run. This popped after earnings. A firm outperforming here today.
HCWB could go higher, in his opinion. Yeah, I mean, it's actually held view up pretty well for the past like half hour or more. As a matter of fact, it looks like it's trying to get going right now.
Yeah, it looks like it's trying to take this area out here. Let's call it 131. What's the high here for today?
149.
149, yeah.
Lots of orders in the way there, especially as we get closer to 140.
Michael, so you think Cuban might be setting him up for a run at president? I'm 85% positive. You know, the one thing that I will say here, Michael, about this, I think you're onto something here. When it comes to billionaires, those guys have another level of jealousy that I can't really understand. And Mark Cuban, his entire life, has been sparring with Donald Trump. And I guarantee there's some jealousy in there that Trump has now been president twice. I wouldn't be shocked to see Mark Cuban take a run at it. We'll see what happens. I wouldn't be shocked on this. Is this something you can bet on Poly Market or Kalshi? Because that might be kind of a long-term bet there, Michael. I think you're onto something.
Looks like it just,
Tom, appreciate you doing the Lord's work out here. Remember, folks, you can support us for free simply by clicking that thumbs up button. It really, really helps us. It helps the algorithm. You don't have to pay us anything, and we will continue to try and make sense of the market every single day, as well as including you and your stock calls in the daily.
Looks like that HCWB, that's really starting to get a fight going here.
Looks like it popped above that area and came right back in 13.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of shares being traded right now trying to get back into that area again. We're still getting some more height out of Archer. Veno still trying to push up higher. Looks like there's a big wall at 222. Looks like a firm is getting a little bit of pullback at the moment. Warrants at 140. It's for HCWB, says Zebev.
Which one? Oh, HCWB. That's the one I got on the screen. Got it.
And that's been the big resistance area all morning. So good mention.
BTCT. That was a mention from last week.
That's, well, a mention. That was the wild one.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay. Yeah, that one I was taking a look at earlier, down today. Was waiting for it to see if it could go green. Did we get that yet? No, it doesn't look like we got it quite yet. But still waiting for that to go green.
HIMS, Jay Rice, giving us a mention here on HIMS. This having a really decent day here on HIMS. Pretty much totally recouping what we lost there on Friday. This interesting, Jay. This interesting. And actually, that putting in that bottom there at 1950, this is a clear support. You know what? You might have a potential move on your hands here. Watch for a breakout here on 24. We're at just about 22. Jay, are you positioned for this? Curious. This is an interesting one. HIMS.
20-day SMA is at 22.38. So if we can, and we were just getting support from the 50. So if we can recapture that 20-day, there's a nice gap to fill just past, actually 25.50, there's a gap to fill. Here we go with HCWB trying to push up to that 140 area that we were just getting a mention about.
Here it is.
Great mention on that.
Yeah, that sure was.
A firm selling off. Bloom Energy, this is starting to turn around. Couldn't quite get to 24. That was a good mention, by the way, on Bloom Energy, Walter. 23.95 was the high intraday. MACD is showing this is starting to roll over. If we cannot hold VWAP, then this looks like it's going to 22. That was a great move in Vino. That popped up to 233, it looks like. Came right back in down underneath my VWAP. Be very careful with this one. It seems like every time this tries to get above the 200 or the VWAP, 200 EMA or the VWAP, it pulls right back beneath. We need to start seeing this close underneath both of those.
Is this Veno?
This is Vino.
That on screen here. I was messing around with something on the other screen. Stay focused here. Thanks for the mention on a firm. Nice short so far. You got it, boss. Great job. Great job hitting it. Veno looks like that got rejected there at VWAP. All right, we got less than a minute here. 13. Actually, we got, oh my God, we got 5 seconds. All right. Really good stuff here today. Really good start to the week. Any parting comments for the group here?
Well, I don't think the really big moves and action is going to come until Wednesday afternoons. So hopefully we'll just keep on looking for these movers. Been so good so far at the start of this week. Happy to see it. Happy to see folks making money. Let's come back tomorrow and do it again. Don't lose anything you made today. All right, folks?
We will be back tomorrow. T3 Tuesday tomorrow. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused, everybody.